It's midweek and welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. We start the news from the Ashanti region where the Ghana Muslim Mission has been giving details of how police officers sent to maintain law and order conducted themselves as they chased students to their dormitories. President of the mission, Sheikh Dr. Amin Bonsu, who described the conduct of the police as unprofessional, says police arrested at least 5 teachers who intervened during the chaos. It comes as the Inspector General of Police, George Akufu-Dampare, interdicts 2 senior police officers as the acting Ashanti Regional Police Commander DCOP Akwesi Akomia is relieved of his post. Ohimin Teya reports.
Whilst welcoming investigations by the IGP into the conduct of the police, Sheikh Dr. Amin Bonsu has described the conduct of the police officers who fired live ammunition at students as unprofessional.
I wonder why few of them, I will not say all of them, because it is only the criminals who don't like police, you see. So, but few of them, I don't know why they can't learn from their top personnel. Because if you are going to put camp, you are there for protection of life and property. You've come here and the place is calm. It means there is peace. It means there is harmony. So what do you have to do? You have to remain at the gate. If they had remained at the gate, nothing of those stories wouldn't have happened. Again, if they had also consulted, because the Ghana Muslim Mission leadership was here, the school authority was around. You have to climb the gate, you have to push the gate by force to come. That kind of diplomacy. Go to the authority and see how the situation is. But for you to enter angrily, shooting, fire, chasing the children to even their dormitories and so forth, it's highly unprofessionalism. You are shooting these children with that arm and so forth. You are shooting firearm, tear gas, and so forth. So no wonder the IGP has acted swiftly. You see, it is unprofessional.
Dr. Amin Bonsu, however, wants the IGP to extend investigations into how some students were assaulted without any provocation on campus in the presence of their teachers.
They chase them to their dorm. Some of them, they have to even they beat them. Eyewitness, they show what they say.
Some of the live bullets were picked from there.
Some of the lives were picked. Can you imagine? This is highly, I don't want to use the word. People who are not, holding harm. We chase them to dormitories, we chase them to, chasing them. Some of them, teachers who want to intervene and so forth, some of them, you even arrested them and send them to prison. Can you imagine? You are even arrest the teachers when they want to intervene to beg you that these are students. Instead of that, you even became annoying. You want one pick firearm, and because of that, you even become annoying. And you have to force him and for him to throw it out. Can you imagine? I arrested them. It's highly unprofessional.
He commended the IGP, Dr. George Akufu-Dampare, for showing leadership by sponsoring the provision of fisherman's rope as an interim speed ramp. Meanwhile, academic work has resumed at the Islamic Senior High School as students prepare to write their end-of-term examinations. Deputy Education Minister Reverend John Ntimfojo, who interacted with the students, is excited at the development as he promised psychosocial support to affected students.
The Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Seduchum, delegated myself and the team to come here to ascertain the facts firsthand and to take steps to ensure that we restore calm and to ensure that we restore normal academic work and ensure that the necessary psychosocial support is given to the traumatized students as well as the teachers. We have we have engaged the headmaster, the teachers, the student population. We have visited the various health facilities that are catering to the injured, and thankfully 22 out of the 38 yesterday, right in our presence, were treated and discharged. We brought them back to campus to connect back with their colleagues. The 16 are also expected this morning, many of them to be discharged, and the rest also followed by close of day. We are very hopeful that by close of day, all of them will be fine to come back to study. This morning, Form 1s are sitting the exam. We have come to make sure all is in place. They are in good condition. They are in high spirit. They are so ready for the exam.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohimin Teya reporting.
Now, 200 households in the Ejisu municipality face legal action for failing to install toilet facilities in their homes. Sanitation officers served notices asking them to construct toilet facilities within 7 days or face legal action. The officers are working to curb open defecation in the area. The Ejisu Besiase Hene Nana Echampon Akwesi supports the move.
Sanitation has been a major challenge in the country. Records indicate 6 out of 10 households do not have toilet facilities. As part of efforts to eradicate open defecation, the World Bank, through the Ministry of Sanitation, is supporting the construction of houses and institutional toilets. The Greater Kumasi has so far constructed about 2,100 household toilets. The sanitation team in the Ejisu municipality went on a massive sensitization exercise on one house, one toilet project. Households without toilet facilities were sanctioned. Project coordinator Ali Suleimana explains.
Our major threat now is open defecation. If you go through the communities, even it's very difficult to get public latrines. So we are just intensifying our campaign, sensitization, creating more demand to upscale the demand. You know, as we all know, the project is about 70% subsidized by the World Bank. So you're only paying 1,200 to own a toilet complete with the WC and hand washing basin with tiles. Then the other one, if you have your own room, then you pay only 700 cedis. We give you a seat and we give you a hand washing basin.
The target is to construct 30,000 household toilets in Greater Kumasi. The Ejisu Besiase Hene Nana Echampon Akwesi believes this will reduce open defecation in the municipality and Greater Kumasi as a whole. Residents who have already benefited from the project shared their experience.
A lot of us get stomach upset, especially at night. It is unhygienic to use public toilets.
Public toilets because
people defecate along the roads here at Ejisu.
Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
Now, some traders at the Cathedral market in Kumasi are up against management of the facility over failure to repair a burst pipe which led to flooding at the market. Wares of traders were destroyed when one of the pipes on the ceiling burst for the second time in the year. The affected traders marched to the offices of the Metropolitan Assembly to seek redress.
About 30 stores at the Cathedral markets got flooded after one of the main pipes at the ceiling burst. Traders say the pipe burst during the wee hours on Tuesday without any effort to get it fixed. Wares worth thousands of cedis were destroyed. Some angry traders expressed their displeasure against management.
This is the 4th time the pipe has burst.
All my fabrics have been destroyed.
The operations manager for the Cathedral Traders Association, Ahmed Kwatin, says all efforts to get their challenges addressed has yielded no result, and he wants the traders to fight for their rights.
The management has been silent on the happenings at the market.
Some of the traders chanted songs and marched to the KMA to petition the city mayor on their grievances. Samuel Pine was out of office to listen to the traders. Traders say management of the facility will have to bear the cost of the destroyed goods.
The KMA officials disappeared when they heard of our coming.
They also want the government to keenly monitor the second phase of the Cathedral redevelopment project.
We are demanding compensation for our destroyed goods. The contractors' work on this facility is not the best.
Awuku Malik's report read to you.
Nadia Kenton Apia Menka University of Skills, Training and Entrepreneurial Development is calling for more support from government to undertake its ongoing projects to accommodate students. The school, mandated to produce trained TVET teachers, has recorded an astronomical increase in students' population. Vice Chancellor Professor Frederick Safo says the impressive numbers is an indication of Ghanaians' interest in the program. There is more in this report.
Speaking at the first annual alumni meeting of Amstead, Vice Chancellor Professor Frederick Safo noted there has been an increasing interest in TVET programs in education, contributing to the recent impressive enrollment. In the 2021-2022 academic year, the school enrolled about 6,800 students, increasing the present student population to 27,804. According to Professor Safo, the increasing student population has established the need for more expansion works. He revealed ongoing infrastructure projects are financed by internally generated funds.
The university is already undertaking various projects, including what might turn out to be one of the best-known entrepreneurship incubation centers in Ghana. The extension of the Opokuwari, the second hall of residence. We have construction of slaughterhouse in Asante Mampong. And then several classroom buildings are going on. These projects are being financed with internally generated funds. I'm working with others in Accra to get to the government to come and complete the 3,500 capacity special projects.
The alumni meeting brought together some notable past students of the school to deliberate on ways to improve the status of the school. Professor Safo indicated the school is determined to ward off preconceived thoughts of TVET being a career for the unintelligent and improve the employment situation in Ghana.
TVET transformation agenda by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and to contribute to employability for all. As indicated in the Act, Amstead was established on August 27th to pursue the following mandates: provide higher education in technical, vocational, entrepreneurial training to develop skilled manpower for economic development. We have taken the mandate head on, determined to excel and improve unemployment situation in our country.
For JoyNews, Emmanuel Bright Kweku reporting.
Now, a network of farmers in 11 communities of the Bono East region are benefiting from Ghana's first ever Living Lab. The community-led project, co-designed with local stakeholders, will plant 4.5 million trees across the country by the end of 2025, with the aim for over 3 million surviving trees and establish circular business models for local communities. And Nasabit visited the African Plantations for Sustainable Development site, where these seedlings are nursed in Bantama near Atibubu, and came through with the following report.
As part of calls to address local challenges of deforestation, climate change, declining soil fertility and agricultural productivity, unemployment and frequent forest fires, the Circular Bioeconomy Alliance, in partnership with AstraZeneca, came up with a Living Lab concept which seeks to restore natural forests, create sustainable woodlots and promote agroforestry through a community-led restoration methods. Through this project, farmers, together with the community liaison officers, created a network of lead farmers in each of the 11 communities to support the agroforestry activities and knowledge exchange. Andrew Held is the director at the NGPTA, who are one of the main partners to the project.
What we're trying to do here is in total a 5,000 hectare project, about half of which is natural forest restoration, and then the other half is woodlots and agroforestry. So what we're trying to do is develop a project that has a balance of environmental and social benefits.
Glenn Asumani is the operations director with Nature and Development Foundation. He noted that with climate change here to stay, there is the need to find ways of helping in its adaptation by providing trees capable of withstanding the harsh weather conditions to farmers.
We are providing tree planting material to farmers. So by planting material, we are talking cashew, we are talking mangoes, we are talking timber trees, we are talking biomass trees. When I say biomass, trees that you cut to enrich the soil. We are providing all of that to the farmers to make their farming practices more resilient. So in case of harsh weather, in case there's too much sun, for instance, these farms with these trees are able to withstand much more than farms that are bare, that have only crops.
With the project aiming at planting more than 4 million trees, we visited the African Plantations for Sustainable Development site here in Bantama, where these trees are nursed before they find themselves into the forests and the farms.
We are now at the APSD nursery. This is a state-of-the-art nursery with an annual production capacity of up to 25 million seedlings. This nursery has produced everything you will see during our trip. It's in operation since 2012, and the project we are doing now is for us very important, and it's important for everybody because the world has to plant more trees, and it has to be done in a proper way, and that's what we are doing here.
To AstraZeneca, who are the major partners to the project, the company, though a pharmaceutical firm, the impact of climate change due to its detrimental impact on people's lives continues to remain a priority focus across sub-Saharan Africa. Barbara Neil is the Africa president for AstraZeneca.
So AstraZeneca has made a clear commitment in terms of our support to sustainability. And this project is testament to that, the living lab that we are creating with our partners here in Ghana. So let's look at the numbers. We've committed to planting 4.5 million trees over the next couple of years. We are into our first rainy season. The project has been running for about a year. And where are we up to? So the project is off to a very good start, with more to come as it builds momentum within the community.
She was, however, quick to note that beyond the steps taken to help improve the climate, the project also aims at improving the living conditions of these local farmers by helping them economically.
So within the AstraZeneca Living Lab here in Ghana, we have the focus on the reforestation, which is around getting the right cover. That is so key to us in Africa and here in Ghana as well. But I think particularly important is the work that we are doing in agroforestry, focusing on local communities such as here in Atibubu, Viase, some of the other communities that we also visited yesterday. This is about working with the local farmers on the ground to help them economically, not just for their generation but also for future generations.
Some of the farmers who are key stakeholders to the project lauded the move and noted that the program is already helping improve livelihoods of local farmers.
With the introduction of this, in fact, especially the youth, seen it to be very beneficial. So in fact, the youth were very excited when this NGOs and other things came together to help us doing this thing.
The project will be very helpful to our children, especially in terms of paying for their school fees, and that is one of the reasons why we are very excited about the project. to farmers and their families living within the Atebobo and Wiase Forest Land Restoration Area. The Living Lab offers a more resilient system, greater income, and the opportunity to restore nature. Anna Sabit, JoyNews, Atebobo.
Here is my part company with you. My name is Pakwisi Shandov. The show continues with Benjamin and Bernice.
Well, here we are. Time now for us to get into the news review. We'll be joined shortly by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Director for the Center for European Studies. But we have quite a stack of newspapers this morning, and we'll be getting right into them as we bring you the latest from the papers. So we start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Boost for SMEs as Development Bank Ghana takes off. Now, the Development Bank Ghana has begun operations with an initial government equity investment of $250 million. Apart from the government's initial investment, the bank has also enjoyed some investment from the European Investment Bank, which has provided 170 million euros, the World Bank, which has given the DBG, that is $225 million, and the African Development Bank, which has given a grant of $40 million to the DBG. The coming on board of the DBG is in fulfillment of the government's plan of increasing the number of banks that will support small and medium-scale enterprises. The bank's primary focus will be to support enterprises in agribusiness, information and communications technology, manufacturing, and those businesses that offer high-value services to scale up. And that is the latest we can bring you from that story. Whether it will live up to expectation, we have Exim as an example. We have the CBG after that consolidation and all of that. Whether they will yield the needed results is one thing would have to wait for time. Time always tells. The president's charge, though, is setting the operations of the bank in motion at a ceremony. He charged the new bank to work to transform SMEs into well-functioning, formal, and strong corporates. And if we had indeed done that in this country, our economic situation definitely would be better and would be faring better against COVID-19 and the Ukraine-Russia endeavor. Well, let me welcome Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I see you, Doc. Good morning.
I see you too, my brother. Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you join the conversation with us today. Hello, Doc?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I just wanted to find out, though, you have something interesting on your WhatsApp as your, not your status, but your, that little wording that we have on WhatsApp. Can you explain it to us?
Which one is that?
The one that has Obede at the end.
Obede.
Okay, so what?
It's a Gwang language. My father's mother is a Gwang. So it means you can do against it, or you can do without it. Obede.
Okay, so the full thing is
you can't. Simply you can't. So all that I'm saying is that if God is with you, God is on your side, there's nothing that anybody can do against you. You can't. And unyamene, God is king. All right. If God is a king in your life, who can do anything against you? Obede. It's my language. Yeah.
Obede.
Okre language. Obede. Okre language. Yeah. You can't. You can't.
I think I'll add Obede to my because
it's a book. Somebody wrote a book using that title, Obede. You can't.
Right. Anyway, good one there, on which note we start the conversation. But there's this boost for SMEs, and yet another bank being set up. We've had the Development Bank, we've had the Exim Bank, we've had CBG on the back of the consolidation of banks. We now have the DBG, the Development Bank Ghana, and we're pumping in some 225 in fact, 250 million in terms of investment equity. Your reaction to that?
It's a good news. I commend the government that we have such a project. We need this because there are a lot of SMEs that we need to strengthen to give hope to this economy and the youth of this country. So a decision like this is in the right direction, and I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to work for us, provided, as you really caution, that we are able to do the needful, maintain it, and let it, achieve its goal. More often than not, we shy away from the goal and we do things that tend to undermine the very existence of the project that we have. I'm sure this time around, we have learned our lessons and we are going to be vigilant and then be responsible and maintain this bank. The long and short of it all is that when we are able to do it well, employment will be catered for and people will have means of livelihood. And above all, we'll be able to develop businesses. We need more businesses so that this economy will stand on its feet.
We most definitely do. And of course, we know that the new development bank, our commitment is 250 million from government with a total committed capital of about 750 million, both as debt and equity. Let's take a look at police admit poor handling of Islamic SHS demonstration. Acting regional commander, 2 others interdicted. Your quick reaction to that? It's a story on page 13. The Kumasi Islamic Senior High and developments there. I was sad, really saddened when I saw students, basically panting and all kinds of things, because I'm sure they didn't expect the firing of gunshots. And when your life flashes before your eyes like that, it's never a pleasant moment. The IGP has been talking, but some are saying, look, there are too many of these things happening. In this instance, no one died, but someone easily could have died. And what is this penchant of the Ghana Police Service for the use of live ammunition? These are children, so to speak. Was there even need for this? Your reflection on that?
I think it's a very unfortunate situation. Very, very unfortunate, because the security people will tell you that you are in a friendly environment. The school environment is friendly, unless, of course, you have some intelligence to the contrary. But
the students, though, at a point, to be fair, pelted them, stones.
Oh, yes. You should expect these things when you are talking about, controlling of crowds and all that. And police have been trained professionally to handle this. And more so when you are dealing with kids, children who are, armless. You need to be extra careful. I'm sure they were not professional enough. They were not. Because, look, what happened is a sorry story. But I'm happy that the IGP has quickly jumped to the situation and has, calmed people's nerves, and we are getting some hope there. Why am I saying that? Because in such situations, you normally see the police coming to the rescue of their own and all that. We are not seeing this, that in this instance. So it gladdens my heart that, yes, the body that has been tasked to look into the matter will do a good job. And then IGP, knowing who he is, will act swiftly. His initial action is commendable. And I have also listened to Parliament, the effort that they are also putting in place to make sure that we don't have a reoccurrence of this. What Parliament want to do is also a good one. We commend them. All that I'm saying that we need to let institutions work. When institutions work, you will see some of these actions coming in handy the very moment we see such situation. But it is a lesson for the police to learn that all is not well, even though they are doing their best. I always commend security people because they have a very difficult task. But in spite of all this, they do their best. This, we think that did not go well. So the police will take notes and learn the lessons that need to be learned, and then do the needful when such situations arise.
Let's look at some other stories. Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. We brought you that live yesterday. Placed premium on agric for jobs. Dr. Edu Owusu-Sako, the economics lecturer at University of Ghana, made those comments. You know, this brings to mind some of what, I mean, just reading the headline. Back then, we had our own, you know, agricultural base. I mean, long before we became a major producer of cocoa, rubber, the rubber tree, rubber plants, and the extraction was our major produce. We moved from one to the next until we settled on cocoa, which became our, you know, biggest, you know, export, until we found gold as well, which later took over, or we started exploring gold as, you know, and then it took over. But we became the world's largest producer. Then there was the glut, and then, you know, we somehow lost out and then fell to the Ivory Coast. But are we placing that much of a premium on agriculture, especially when it comes to the creation of jobs? Because guess what? We have very arable land. We're blessed with that. At least while climate change is still biting, we still have some good rainy seasons and all of that. But with agriculture playing the role it has and continues to do in our economy, do you feel we're giving it enough prime of place?
My brother, this is one of the unfortunate stories that we continue to tell in this country. If you look at the political economy of this country, there is no doubt in my mind that we don't have to shy away from agriculture. We do that at our own peril. I have an uncle who is 92 years old, and he keeps telling me, Kwame, what are you people doing about agriculture? All right. He said, you can only save this country when you have agric developed to the highest. There was a time he said that, can you lead me to the president? That was the time of Mr. Mahama and all that. So that I go and tell him that, please put more emphasis on agric. Back to the issue. Look, we have seen it in the area of mining. It has helped us. It has not helped us because you know the conversation there. But we have seen agric, if for nothing at all, is able to sustain us. We are able to get food. We are able to get jobs out of this. And in no time, this very buoyant, you know, economic enterprise, we have shied away from this. We have shied away from this, and I'm so surprised. Look, there are a lot we can do in agriculture to cure this problem of unemployment. There was a time I decided that let me go around and see what I can do to help this country from my own little angle. And I decided that, can I go into rabbit rearing? My brother, in no time, I had over 800.
Wow.
Recently, I decided that at my backyard, because I saw a project at Adenta where the MCE was helping people to, you know, develop fish and all that. I took advantage of that project and developed. If you come to my house now, I am now harvesting a lot of fishes in my backyard. What are we doing? We have our lands here are arable, very fertile. What are we doing? We are importing food from a desert area. Isn't it a shame on us that we are close to the desert? God has blessed us. We don't have desert here. We have all our lands are arable, and yet we still import food from what? Desert areas. This is a sorry story. Ali Mazuri would describe it as a paradox that we are rich and yet poor. I mean, rich in terms of natural resources. Look at all the resources that enable the first world to develop are here. Gold, minerals, you know, land, and what have you. And yet we are poor. We are not thinking right. I think so. I'm sorry to say that, but we are not thinking right. And we are not hungry enough. All the time when we are in difficulty, people come to our aid, support us with food, support us with what resources. And we think that those Father Christmas will be around all the time. Let us remember that the person who provides lunch always has an agenda. He will hold you to ransom when you least expect that thing to happen. We need to get the basis right and think that agric is the backbone of everything. Growing up in secondary school, we saw a lot of, you know, agricultural farms in all the secondary schools. We have abandoned them. And now we look for private people to supply food simply because somebody can get his cut on the issue.
Right.
Look, we need to be very patriotic enough and think that this country, God has blessed us with everything. and that agric is the way to go. Agric is the way to go. Once we drum this message very well in the ears of everybody, then we accompany it with resources and knowledge. I have no doubt in my mind that the enterprise will become attractive to the youth, and then people will go in there and then they start life. And who knows?
Right.
This will be the game changer.
Let's look at the middle spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. DVLA designates 126 eye testing centers. World Blood Donor Day commemorated, and the country yesterday joined the global community to commemorate this year's World Blood Donor Day with a call on eligible persons to voluntarily donate blood to save lives. Now, Ghana card not replacement for biometric passport is the final bit I'll look at in the Daily Graphic. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayoko-Botche, has said that the Ghana card is not a replacement for the country's biometric passport. According to her, the card could not be used to travel to other countries within or outside ECOWAS. Quoting her, "It must be underscored that the passport, together with the travel certificate, is the only approved travel document for Ghanaians that is internationally recognized." I saw a post by a gentleman recently, I think either exiting or trying to enter the UK, and he made it clear that the Ghana card couldn't be used as a passport. Maybe some finality to this entire debate, especially on the back of the comments sometime back by the Vice President. Your thoughts?
I support this biometric, passports and all the digitization process. I am for that. For a long time, my hope was that we'll be able to quicken the process and let the system work as regard the use of the Ghana card. Because if you look at well-developed economies, they hardly use passports. So within the sub-region, if we can encourage and develop the national card for us to use it within the sub-region, why not? It's a good thing. I was a student in Switzerland, Geneva, and then we have the Swiss passport the Swiss card that you used to travel around. When I was there, I was just going around Europe and I was cool with that. But if we have not gotten there, that's fine. But I like the government approach that they are quickening the effort and we will get there very soon. So for now, if the minister is saying that that is not a substitute for passport, I agree. Gradually, we will get there. And then all these problems about digitization and then, data will be a thing of the past. Look at when we are going for election. You need to go and register. We need to do this thing. Once the Ghana card, we get it right. It will solve all these problems. And then some of these lingering problems would die off.
On the back page, work on 83-kilometer Savelugu-Wale Road begins. Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspapers. I'll not be touching on those stories we've already looked at, but Ato Forson's letter could not establish LC. Prosecution witness says so. It has to do with the issue concerning ambulances in which Ato Forson has been roped in. Government will continue to push for organic fertilizer use by farmers, Agric Minister affirms. The point is you keep pushing, but what is the result? We also ought to be analyzing that. 3 police officers interdicted over Islamic SHS disturbances. I want to take a quick look at the middle spread of the paper. So Muslim Conference of Ghana demands unconditional apology from India over insulting comments by 2 politicians. And this has raised the topic of Islamophobia one more time with these high-profile officials making very distasteful statements. And there's the call for basically the High Commission here to also express, or send through an apology. That is the story there in a nutshell. On page 11, that's where I'll wrap. Mahama, intimidated citizenry will not constitute resource for progress and development. And NPP aspirants file for national positions. Your quick reflections on these two?
Yeah. If you look at what we are experiencing, the first one, can you hit back on the
so Mahama, intimidated citizenry will not constitute resource for progress and development. The former president has postulated that an intimidated citizen will not constitute the appropriate resource for the sustenance of progress, growth, and development of the country. Ghana recently, of course, dropped 30 places to 60th globally and 10th in Africa on the World Press Freedom Index, which is the country's lowest ever ranking in almost 2 decades. He cites the Reporters Without Borders statement, among others. And he's saying that if you intimidate the citizenry, they will not constitute a resource for progress and development. The other story is the MPP aspirants filing for national positions.
Yes, if you look at the story on press freedom, it is a critical index in a democratic enterprise. Any democratic enterprise, you need free press. A press which is independent, it's bold and fearless, all right, so that they can hold government to account. They will not only educate and inform us, but that also serve as a watchdog over government actions and inactions. If you have a press which is intimidated, if you prevent people from criticizing a government, expressing their thought, however painful it will be, then I'm afraid you are undermining the very system that you want to rest your hope with. Let us know that this democracy, people have struggled to bring it to where it is. It did not start today. If you look at the era of the khaki, the military era, look at the battles that people waged to establish press freedom. If you look at the 1992 and aftermath, all right, people continue to fight for press freedom. It is something that we must jealously guard against it. So any effort that tend to undermine, that tend to destroy others' good work, all of us must rise up and criticize and throw it into the lake of fire. We need to be tolerant, and that means that National Commission for Civic Education must be up and doing. It is not the case that they are not doing their work, but they need to quicken their effort to get people, policy, implementers, holders of political power, to everybody, all and sundry, to get to know that we need a free media that will stand the test of time. And when we're able to give such education, and we give the essence of having a democracy with a very strong media, this will go down to change some of this attitude. And let politicians also understand that, look, they are nothing but birds of passage. Right. They are flying past the building. They will go away in no time when we go toward the polls. So they should not deceive themselves into believing that, look, once you intimidate, once you harass people because you have power, that's the end. No, it's just a matter of time. When you are out of office, you realize that you see your share size. But that is not what we want. We want democracy to be the only game in town where institutions are strong. Institutions such as what the media will be able to voice out, will be able to speak for the vulnerable, the needy, and all that. That is what we want. If democracy is the path we want to chart, and I believe it is a path, I have no doubt in my mind, irrespective of the fact that democracy has its own problem, I will continue to die for democracy because it is the only game in town.
Let's look at Republic Press newspaper. John Kuma denies securing 50 immigration service slots for constituents. That has to do with the Ghana Immigration Service. He has debunked that roundly, told workers to embark on series of demonstrations against government. Boga MP bounced again as Supreme Court dismisses review application. The 9-member panel, presided over by Justice Jones Doche, unanimously dismissed the application on grounds that the applicant did not meet the threshold for the court to exercise its discretion in his favor. The minority has said that the courts are being used to sort of allow the MPP to prepare, because it keeps pushing things back, to give it time to prepare for a by-election. That is what the minority is alleging. But in other stories, I'll just put all of them together and then you can respond, Doc, to the ones that you want to. Don't adopt paracetamol solutions on Ghana's economy. That's according to Professor Stephen Aday, a friend of mine, and he was speaking at the maiden edition of the Financial Economy Seminar Ghana 2022. That is his take. Don't adopt paracetamol solutions to, getting our economy back on track. And just to wrap with these international stories, Lishansk, Russia, erasing history in Ukraine's dead city, and Taiwan, interestingly, are the US and China heading to war over the island? Those are the questions. So from Professor Ade to Jachikwesen and then to those international stories. Quick take.
For Jachikwesen, you know my position on this. Let's leave the courts to handle these things, and we will be in a better position to talk about these things after they finish their work. But let me go to handling the economy using a paracetamol approach. A very interesting one. All right. Sometimes I ask myself whether we have those who have what it takes to manage our economy. And I'm not saying this thing with regard to this, era. I'm looking at it from, post-military era. The little that I've seen, the slightest problem we have within the international system, and you see our economy is in shambles. I ask myself, do we have the people who have been trained well to handle it? And sometimes I struggle to find answers. Because you see our leaders, holders of political power, especially those who manage the economy, doing their very best. And then they come and pride themselves having achieved what? Single-digit inflation and all that. The slightest problem, you see them on their knees. Their hands are in the air, mourning and all that. So sometimes I ask myself, do we have those who have been trained properly to handle the economy? I think the economists will answer that question. The second issue is that sometimes I believe that, look, we can save ourselves all this trouble by looking at what works. What are the rules of engagement here? Where we need to cut waste, we shy away from that. Where we need to take bold decisions because of political expediency, we shy away from that. Where we need to be blunt and tell people that this is not doable, but the alternative is the way to go, we shy away from that. So sometimes I ask myself, are we sure we can manage it? Look at another situation. Anytime we are going for election, whether in opposition or in government, political parties convince us into believing that, look, give us power, and when we come, we'll build the economy. Because they've realized that the one of the variables that really influence voter choices, irrespective of party ideology, irrespective of what, all the factors you can think of, is the economy. So everybody is looking forward to hearing a very sound message about how to save the economy. And the very people who say they want to build the economy, truly, when they win power, you see them developing the economy, helping it. When they are going to what? We are going for elections. The very economy we have struggled to build, we tend to destroy them, throwing away all the economic theories, doling out money to voters and all that, destroying the fundamentals. And yet we come back that we want to build the economy. So looking at when you put all together, I'm sorry to say that I have a certain feeling that we are not ready to build the economy. And that is why we use the paracetamol approach, very ad hoc. And then in no time,
it doesn't work for us.
Stare at our faces.
Right.
I believe that if we want to save this country, the first thing we need to, address is to how to build a very solid economy. Once we get that basics right, I think we are good to go.
Let's wrap very quickly with these two. So one from the Daily Guide newspaper, and I'll take another one from the Custodian, and that's how we'll wrap. So it says, Unite Behind National Cathedral Project. Ken Oforiatta, that's on page 6. He talks about the concerns of ordinary Ghanaians. He talks about the building of the National Cathedral being a prudent project. He talks about cost funding concerns. And tied to that, we also have, let me just get this, Dr. Paul Opoku-Mensah, Executive Director or Project Coordinator of the National Cathedral of Ghana. He erroneously suggested in a way that the government of Ghana had at a point facilitated certain boons for the construction of the National Mosque, attempting to equalize. The UMA, Komog of Ghana, has come out forcefully against that, and he's had to issue an apology. For me, I am unapologetic because I honestly feel that in the midst of all the turmoil we are facing, we can ill afford to expend $25 million of seed money, especially when we do not know how much more seed money will be pumped into this $350 million gargantuan project, when There are many hungry mouths to feed and so many other things of essence in our country. The other story is MPP is matchless in road projects, Baumia asserts. But is that really the case? Year 1, 2, 3 of, of roads. Your quick thoughts, that's in the Custodian newspaper, and it's a wrap.
I'll start with the cathedral issue, all right? I'm not against that project, but the timing is wrong. We have, as you rightly put it, a lot of mouths to feed. Just look at your screens. Time and again, you come across people asking the public virtually to support them, to assist the awards one way or the other with regard to health issues. You will see people, parading in the street, doing nothing. These are energetic people who really want to work, and we don't have jobs for them, all right? There are a whole lot of problems that we face in this country, and you ask yourself, is that our priority for now? I say no, in the sense that, look, if you look at our president, he has a lot of goodwill, and he has good image. I would have thought that we could leverage on this and ask every Ghanaian that, yes, you are paying your taxes, you are doing all, but can you support the president with one city project to build a first-class hospital for the cocoa seller, for the watches seller, who can take his ward there free of charge?
Doc, a quick one. Should we then be as leadership, with all the outcry, should leadership be able to say, you know what, let's pause on this project and maybe try to, is that something you would expect?
Yes, it wouldn't be a bad idea, because look, the problem, the hue and cry about this thing is that initially you and I were in this country, we heard that government was not going to fund this project. And in no time, we are seeing state money getting into this project, all right? We were not told this initially. 2, you ask yourself, there are a lot of problems that we have. Is that the way to go? There are some which are pressing, more pressing than this. Why can't we turn attention to this? So I believe in the call that they can suspend this, and then we pump that money, or we take that money to another sector that will really change the fortunes of this country. And let us remember that COVID is still around, and we are still going to struggle with that. We have heard report from National Health Service and all that. Right. So we would need more money, and that where we expect to have prudent use of resources, let us make use of that than putting our resources into something that at the moment we don't need. That for me, it is a misplaced priority. And I'm wondering why people want to engage the public in this discourse and saying that that. Look, life is about how you prioritize your issues. Kwame Nkrumah said, and I repeat here, organization decides everything. We should be able to organize ourselves so that we can address our problems.
Doc, another good one. I salute you, and I wish you the best of the day, sir.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. We are ready to serve this country.
And that is Dr. Kwame Asante, one-time lecturer of mine. He is director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Up next, stay with us. We serve you sports. Well, here we are. Welcome back on the AM show. We get into the big stories, and we're going to be focusing on Parliament. A lot of what is happening there to do with the Privileges Committee and those 3 members of Parliament who have been hauled before it, among other very pertinent matters. But before that, I'll be getting into some other substantive matters with our guests who join us, both of them via Zoom this morning. Andrew Ejapa-Mensah is Member of Parliament for 2nd D. He is also a Deputy Energy Minister. Honorable Mensah, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, my good friend. How are you doing?
It's been a while. I'm doing well. How about you?
Yes, it's been a while. By His grace, I'm good. Always good to be here.
We thank the Lord for His mercies. We also have joining the conversation our second guest in the person of Al Hassan Suini, Member of Parliament, Tamale North. Honorable Suini, a very good morning to you too. Do we have Honorable Suini? You may have to unmute so we can hear you. All right, we'll get Honorable Suini on. But starting with you, Andrew, it's been a while, and now we have a petition out there to Shraj, trying to get Article 71 office holders to declare their assets for the head of Shraj to instigate that. I just want to find out from you, have you declared your assets as a member of parliament? Have you declared your assets for this second term? Honorable Mercer.
Say that indirect.
Okay. I couldn't hear you for a while, so I was just checking with your sound.
Yes, I said, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and to respond directly to your question that I suspect that if I hadn't filed my assets declaration, my name would have found its way in the publication that the Fourth Estate did a couple of weeks ago. And so to the extent that my name was not in there, it goes to confirm that indeed I duly filed my assets declaration for the accordance with law.
Andrew, you're a lawyer, and I'm asking you a direct question. You are now drawing lines between the fact that it could be that, it was not an all-encompassing list. I am asking you, have you declared your assets? That is the question. Have you declared your assets?
Yes, I have.
All right. That is a straightforward enough.
I wanted to go in that circuitous manner just so that at least you can know that indeed I have filed without necessarily responding directly. But yes, I have.
Okay. What is your take on, leadership responsibility in this regard, especially on the back of some of what we've seen? On the back of, Sir John's last testament and others, and he wouldn't be alone here. I'm sure if we did a lot of digging, we'd find so many things, skeletons in the closet. But
unbelievable how you put it. The basis for saying that it will not be alone in any event. Has it been established beyond all reasonable doubt that these assets were acquired within the period that he was in office as the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission?
I'm sticking to what I know in terms of the acquisitions since 2017, at least. Prima facie, what we know.
I've seen the document. Okay? I've seen the document. Using myself as an example, I have my own property in the La area that I acquired before 2010. To date, I haven't registered it, okay? But of course, I've declared it as part of my assets because it is indeed part of my assets. And so between now and say 2024, I am able to register it. Would you then conclude by virtue of the fact of the time of the registration that asset was acquired when I became a Deputy Minister of State? So let's wait for the investigation that the Special Prosecutor is conducting. Okay, before we draw conclusions like the one that you just did.
Andrew, I think you missed the point. I am not, I'm not passing. Hold on. I am not passing judgment. I was actually merely drawing your attention to the fact that
I'm not holding brief for anybody.
Right.
Not.
So two things. Two quick things. If you would just listen to me, two quick things.
Some assets within the period of his being in office and established to have been illegitimate. Those questions must be answered. I don't have a problem at all. But the parallel that you sought to draw, that this may not be the case. So I
think you've misunderstood what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm saying just pause and let me explain to you.
But I got you very clear that you were trying to suggest that it is possible that others may have assets in the nature of what it is that Sir John has. And I'm saying that there's absolutely no basis.
So that one you got right, actually. That you got right. And I wasn't speaking about just this administration. In fact, my thinking is that, and there's been the call for the family to let, the lands minister know of whatever other properties may have been let out to whatever individuals. That is what I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at just this administration. I'm looking at across administrations and who may have done what that we don't know of. So maybe, I don't know how you understood that. But the reason I brought it up was not even to get into the detail, the fine detail, which we do not have yet. The OSP is working on that. But it has to do with the fact that what I was referencing, What I was referencing was that this conversation has come to the fore again on the back of that. That was the analogy I made, but I guess I don't know. You jumped down my throat.
I really am indifferent with respect to whether assets ought to be assets that are declared, okay, ought to be made public or not.
But the law makes it clear that it isn't to be put in the public domain, but it is supposed to be submitted. It is supposed to be kept until such an instance arises where maybe there is the need for it. Then a court or another, institution of competent jurisdiction would request it. That much we are aware of.
And that's what people are kicking against. And I've heard the argument that the mode with which the Constitution requires the access to be filed at this material time makes it really, if you like, not worth the piece of paper that it is written on, because if it's kept in the custody of the Auditor General's Department until an issue arises, then how are people going to know what it is that you own before you came into public office and what it is that you own post your exit from public office or even during your tenure in public office to then make an assessment as to whether you've acquired some assets within that period, whether legitimately or illegitimately. And so the question has been put out there that, look, to make this law biting, if you like, some public disclosures ought to be made. And I'm saying that as far as I'm concerned, I'm indifferent. Okay, if the law is amended to reflect open publication, people would then have to make a determination whether they want to continue or even go into public service because their entire world is having to be exposed to the public, or that, yes, regardless, because the motives with which they go into public service is altruistic. And so it doesn't really matter whether their assets are made public or not. And I'm saying that as far as I'm concerned, I really don't have a stand, whichever way.
So you really don't have a stand. It basically means that, you have nothing to hide. You've declared your assets and you wouldn't have a problem, whether it's going to go public or be private. But do you agree with those who say that maybe that is exactly what we need to stem the tide of corruption, looting of the state coffers, so to speak?
You see, those comments, okay, and I've been a member of parliament this is my second term. How do people loot the public purse? How do they do it? I've been in the Ministry of Energy for about a year. How do people loot?
How do you explain, especially when people don't? Some people may declare their assets, they don't declare their liabilities. That is one concern. And how do you explain it when people come that we know? And you see, that's the point. People will tell you that we know these people. We know what they have. Of course, maybe you don't know everything they have. Or these are people are even schooled with. All of a sudden, they go into politics, get this position, and they are putting up buildings that it would take you 20 years working and you wouldn't be able to build. Is that not a good way of assessing it? At least when it comes to tax, the taxman can look at you and say, if you are driving this Ferrari, you may have bought it at this price and that, and so you should pay this amount of tax. We can draw the lines, can't we?
It really is a question of choices, because I know one of my colleagues, okay, who in the last parliament, he didn't have any property in Accra. He used part of his rent advance to pay a deposit on some building that he subsequently finished paying through his ex-gratia. Others will use all their funds because they think their seat is unsafe to fund activities in their constituency that really is coming from their personal pockets to sustain their seats. And so if you make a comparison between the two persons, that one has been able to buy a building in wherever from his rent advance and also his allowances and some back pay and ex-gratia that is paid to him. And you say that he's gone into politics to amass, in your words. What does it really mean? That the person didn't have a car before, but he's gone into public service, and the role that he's in requires that he be given an official vehicle, and the government procures a loan through a private bank, and the person purchases a Land Cruiser and is driving back and forth into his constituency to do public work that he's paying for. Of course, the state pays a portion of it, and that means that person has arrived, or what? I'm not saying people don't do stuff, but I ask the question. The supposition is that everybody in public office is some kind of thief. And I'm saying that that broad stroke doesn't help the discourse, because as a matter of fact, it is not the case. That's not the point that I'm making. That's why I said to you that I'm really indifferent, okay, as to whether assets are declared publicly or not. My family would then have to take a decision whether, hey, you think that we ought to expose ourselves to the entirety of the Ghanaian public in this manner. Then we can take the decision. But as far as I'm concerned, left to me alone, it's really not a big deal at all.
You brought in an issue that is tied to this, inextricably tied, ex-gratia. And some people feel as well, just because you mentioned it, I probably wouldn't have brought it up. Some people feel, look, yes, the law says what it does in terms of Article 71 office holders, but is it high time we took a second look at this, especially in our economic situation? Because let me just give you the list. According to the Professor Ya Ntiamwa Bedu Committee, this is what we're going to see at the end of, this was what was proposed at the end of 2020. The president would walk away after 4 years with 659,000 plus Ghana cedis. The vice president, 549,000. Let me just walk you through the list and pose the question. Then,
how much is this? Out of which, how much is his back pay?
Right, and that is another conversation altogether, because it is interesting how we can have someone go through an entire tenure with some proposals, and then at the end of the tenure, we're now fixing what the person should have got, and we're giving all this back pay. That is another problem on its own. But if you can address both when I'm just done with these. 549,000 plus for the vice president, Speaker of Parliament 488,000 plus, Cabinet Minister 464,000 plus, that is Cabinet Minister MP. Cabinet Minister non-MP 457,000 plus, Member of Parliament 390,000 plus, Member of the Council of State 366,000 plus. And we saw Togbe Afede returning his recently. Your reactions on the two fronts.
You see, I think that going forward, it's important that the terms and conditions of Article 71 office holders. And yesterday, I was on another platform with my good friend and brother, Sam George, and today I'm here with my brother, Al Hassan. And the question was really whether that delay, in submitting the report in itself helps the discourse. And it helps, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't help the discourse on two levels. One, even the recipients themselves, including the members of parliament, of which I'm one, lose out because you are not compensated for the time value of the money that you lose for the period that you are being paid conditions of service that the previous parliament enjoyed. So it is in my interest that my actual terms and conditions are determined now for me to have the real value of the money rather than wait till 2024 when I take salary on account for 4 years and then I get to be paid a 10 or 11% incremental per year when public service, other public sector workers have enjoyed the full benefit of their annual increments and enjoy the full value of the money, as opposed to me, who at the end of the day is being shortchanged because I don't get to be compensated for the loss in value that I enjoy. Then again, it doesn't help the discourse because it is only 2 or 3 months or 4 months I hear this time around per year of service that is paid to you as ex-gratia. But it is all lumped together as part of the terminal benefits that are paid to you, together with your terms and conditions of service, including the salary that has been determined by the committee and paid to you in bulk. And so you put out figures that you put out there without distinguishing the portion that actually is ex-gratia and the portion that is legitimately due in terms of the remuneration of the people who are affected. But yes, then you create the impression that though people have taken 390,000. But if you do the math, you would see that out of that amount, it's only about 20% or so that actually constitute ex-gratia when and the remaining your actual earned salary that has been delayed for 4 years and being paid to you now. And so
even that 20,000, even that 20% you speak of, I mean, you put it in that light, but you know what it means to an ordinary Ghanaian, because if you consider averagely, even on single spine, what people are earning compared to what a member of parliament takes home, you speak of it as 20%. I'm not trying to downplay what you do.
Why don't you compare
but I'm simply saying that even that 20% you speak of, that is like a fortune, a life saving for someone else.
It's not a fortune at all. Okay, it's not. Now compare it with chief executives of SOEs, and then you will see that it pales into insignificance.
Another problem.
Something we've decided to do. Salaries of other non-subvented organizations, top management, not even chief executive. I, as MP, take home 13,000 Ghana cedis, but I sat on the Ghana Gas Board, and managers were taking in excess of 25,000 cedis per month. What are we talking about? Yes, I appreciate that a broad category of Ghanaian workers as well don't earn that much salary. And so those ought to be addressed. No issues. But to say that you're doing those relativities, you're being completely unfair.
Thank you for your initial submission. Let me bring in Alhassan Suhuyini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North. Honorable Suhuyini, a very good morning to you. All right, we'll get Alhassan Suhuyini joining the conversation once more. I think I caught a bit of is it a snicker or a smile from you, Andrew, at the tail end. Just a quick one as well. I wanted to bring in Alhassan to share his thoughts on these, but before we go into Parliament, because once we get into Parliament, I wouldn't want to come out again. This bit about, and I'll talk about it as often as I can, a national cathedral. It's also brought, it stirred the hornet's nest. We're all talking about it. Seed money, relevance at this time, and of course the erroneous comments about it being, you know, the national mosque having been facilitated by any government, which Komorgan, the Ummah, the Muslim Ummah, has debunked, and that we shouldn't try to find equivalence in that regard. But as it stands now, I spoke to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, okay? He political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies this morning. And he said to me, look, if there is this hue and cry, which he sees, we might as well pause on the project. Is that a stance, considering timing and our economic situation, that you would support? Right before I go to Alhassan.
Not at all. Because already huge sums of monies have been expended already. And you see, sometimes I think the modesty of His Excellency the President accounts for some of these challenges that we face, because I would have thought that this asset is not his personal property. And so making a provision for its entire construction in the budget of the Republic of Ghana wouldn't be far-fetched at all. However, His Excellency the President recognizes that, look, we are in some economic difficulty, okay, and that burdening the state's budget with the entire amount required for the funding of the project may not be the way to go. And so let the state support the private sector, that is the churches, individuals, and the Christian community in general, to put up this asset that is, for all intents and purposes, state property. Okay, I've heard people make sinister comments that this is a private pledge that the president made to his God, and so
is it not?
Find his own funding.
Is it not?
When he, but of course, free SHS is a private pledge that the president made to the people of Ghana.
No, it was a public. It was a public pledge he made to the people of Ghana. Up until we were told about. No, hold on, Andrew.
Allow me to answer the question.
Up until no, I'm just saying, and I'm saying it so you can clarify for me. Up until Akufo-Addo came into power, we did not know about this pledge of a national cathedral, did we?
What did you say?
I am saying that up until the president came into power, we did not know about this pledge of a national cathedral, this pledge he had made to God, did we?
Up until the president came into power, did you know about NAPCO?
We knew about the fact that there would be moves to create employment for the youth.
I'm asking you a specific question. Did you know about NAPCO?
And I'm saying, by extension, we knew that there would be measures to create jobs for the youth.
Let's not bastardize some of these things. Of course, we can agree to disagree. You may think that it is not worthy of any state involvement. I think that it is worthy of full state involvement. His Excellency, the President thinks that, look, it may not be worthy of the state funding the entirety of it. Each of us is entitled to his view. Okay? But don't suggest to me that this is a property that His Excellency, the President, can will to his children upon his demise. Because that is not the case.
But is it a property that the Ghanaians want to be bequeathed to them?
With all due respect, I mean, if you allow me to make my point, you can ask me a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
I don't have a difficulty at all. His Excellency the President, with all due respect, is not going to will it or devise it to his family upon his demise. Okay? And so, this is a state asset. So let's look at it from that perspective. We can, like I said, disagree on funding sources and whether it is needed at this time. I think that it is 50 years too late. And so, yes, by all means, if we have to do it at this time, together with meeting other needs of the people of Ghana, we ought to do it. That's my position.
Okay, can I come in now? I'm just looking at a message. Mo Ajay and Al Hassan, my apologies, but because of the turbulence and you're joining us a bit tardily, but I'll give you ample time. Mo Ajay says, I am not a Christian and I don't support my taxes being used for a cathedral that will not give me any benefit in terms of my religion. That is on our thread. He just shared that. And there are Christians as well. And there are Christians as well who will tell you that I want things that will impact my pocket and what I'll eat, not a national cathedral.
People are opposed to free SHS. Okay, people are opposed to planting for food and jobs. People are opposed to NAPCO. People are opposed to all sorts of government policy that are implemented. And so if it is the case that you're suggesting that by virtue of the fact that some people are opposed to a certain policy decision, it should not be done, then I beg to say that no policy can ever be implemented. Because whatever decision that you take, there would necessarily be people who are opposed to it. But it's the duty of government, okay, which is given the mandate to govern within a certain time frame, to then make the decisions and live with the consequences thereof. I recall that when President Kufuor was putting up the Jubilee House facility, there was all sorts of hue and cry in this country. Unless, of course, you are a member of the Short Memory Association of this country who doesn't remember. People even suggested that we're going to use it.
Was that directed at me? Because I don't know if you're tagging others as having short memory. I don't think it's palatable to refer to me in that light.
Found that it wasn't needed. There were people who were hungry on the streets. Yes. I was sat in this country and people were paid huge amounts of money for no work done. Yes, there were complaints equally. But is the Jubilee House worthy of the investment that was made in putting it up? Hasn't it served this country well post its completion? So yes, let's have the argument. I don't have a problem at all, okay? But let it not be said that it's as if to say somebody is doing something that is going to be to his personal benefit. And so he is by all means closing his eyes to do it against the will of the people of Ghana. I'm saying that people support the National Cathedral. I support it fully. I think that rather than even funding it partially by the state and the private sector actors, the state should fund it fully. So that
the state should fund it fully.
Absolutely. That is my view.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Hold it right there. Let me bring in Al-Hassan Suini. Interesting thoughts. And I know you've been watching, you've been listening as well. Andrew Ejapa Mercer, your opposite number from Second D says, if it were left to him, the state should expend all the $350 million in these times to put up the National Cathedral. I mean, when I was talking about the Kufuor administration and the Jubilee House, we could also go back to the 60s and talk about the Yakosumbu Dam and how people said, oh, we don't have that much of a population, but today it serves the purpose. We can talk about the Tema Motorway and same talk about it, but here we are. But
we later have the benefit of all these assets that were put up for the state.
Right.
You have actually been buttressed the point that I'm making.
No, I'm not contesting that. I'm just saying that it may not necessarily, because at least we know what those projects are in terms of the socioeconomic fabric of our country. But Al-Hassan Suini, our assets declaration regime. Now we have a petition before SRAJ in terms of maybe compelling those who have not done the right thing to do so. I know you've sat here on this show and told us that you have declared your assets. And then looking at what we're seeing, the National Cathedral, and what your colleague is saying, that left to him, look, forget all these comments that other people are making. Let's even pay all the $350 million by the state. Your quick take on that.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. Good morning. Good morning to my brother from Second D, Mesha, and good morning to our viewers. If you pardon me, I just wanted to make a comment on the discussion you had earlier in relation to salary arrears. That's how I choose to call it, the ex-gratia. That the debate of ex-gratia that is unending. I, in my view, think that I think I said it on your platform the last time, that the way to deal with this matter is actually to get, to get the precedents that will come after, to ensure that they set up the committee of emoluments earlier and determine the conditions of service of, parliamentarians and other Article 71 office holders. Why? Because to some extent, there is a lot of confusion around it. And I believe that that will clear that misunderstanding. Look, for the 4 years that I am a member of parliament, every year, workers will get the opportunity to negotiate with government on their conditions of service. And then they will be, they will get an increment of a sort, whether they appreciate the increment or not.
Anything between 4 and 7%, most likely under 10%.
Exactly. They do that. They get that every year. So they get that every year, cumulatively for 4 years. A member of parliament, a member of the Article 71 office holder doesn't have that opportunity. And so as I serve as a member of parliament today, my conditions of service is dependent on the conditions of service that was determined for Article 71 office holders in the seventh parliament, and not in this parliament.
Why can't we remedy that so that we don't have this back pay, this end of term, and then we're now determining this on that?
That is why my view is that the precedents that will come maybe after, because President Akufo-Addo has already failed in that direction, must be compelled to set up the emoluments committee immediately they are sworn in and tax them to finish their work in, say, 3 or 2 months, so that people do not have to be paid on account. because, like Mercer said, the time value of money is hardly imputed in the calculations when they are determining these salary arrears that are paid to members of the Article 71 holders after 4 years of service. And I believe that's the way to clear that confusion. And you know, to the issue of what do you call it? To the issue of the cathedral. I really find it interesting that my brother thinks that the state should fund it fully. For me, we need to understand we have to put the discussion in context. Cathedrals were fashionable in the past when the church and state operated as one. And so if you look at cathedrals that have been built across the world, these were the times that such cathedrals were built. And it will be interesting to take note of even the locations of the cathedrals. And perhaps that has even informed the determination to locate our cathedral close to the State House and Parliament and the other state institutions. Because it was that relationship between state and church in those days that, you know, led to the appetite to construct cathedrals, you know, close to these state institutions. So I've heard people say that the cathedral couldn't have been sited anywhere better than where it is close to State House and all of that. It is true. If you look at the history of cathedrals, that was the overriding, you know, reasoning. Now, many years down the line, you're asking yourself if it is still very, very relevant for the states to get involved in these things, because we have long gone past the relationship that existed between the state and church when they governed the state together. Again, let us take note that no cathedral has ever taken less than 10 years to construct. No cathedral has ever taken less than 10 years to construct. Now, you have a president who has made his personal pledge, did not disclose it to the people of Ghana during his campaigns, decided to disclose it after he was elected as president, and, you know, has committed that he will do it in less than 4 years. You are bound to have problems. Even the mighty nations with lots of resources did not use 10 years to build the cathedrals that they have. Now, my problem with the whole construction.
And Al-Hassan, I'm sorry to do this, but owing to when you were able to join the conversation, when we were able to get your feed, I'm going to give you some 2.5, 3 minutes more to just wrap up on this so we move on to the other bits. I respectfully have to do this because, I mean, I would have wanted a banter earlier, but the timing is also crucial. So please go ahead.
So my issue with the cathedral are three: lack of honesty, lack of transparency, and the illegal transfers of money to the construction site. Three. First of all, the lack of honesty is seen in the earlier assurances that this entire project was going to be privately funded, and that government was just providing land. Now, there is some level of dishonesty, even if government was only providing land, because remember, we made the point then that we were, as a state, pulling down 21 townhouses at Rich, not at Kaswa, townhouses that judges occupied. That was cost to the state. We were relocating the passport office, and I understand it has cost us about 10 million Ghana cedis to do that. That's cost to the state, apart from the cost of the land. As we speak, we are in a tussle with the Bulgarian, the Malian embassy over where to site their, residence that was affected by this construction. I understand the government has so far given state land at airport for the construction of a new residence for the Malian, ambassador. That is cost to the state. But yes, despite all of these costs, they looked us in the face and told us that it was not going to cost the state beyond land. and that it was going to be privately funded, only for us to wake up and see releases of huge sums of money ranging from $25 million to $32 million, and then 127 million Ghana cedis as seed capital. Now, that is some audacity to lie to us in the effort, in an effort to construct a house of God. It must take some kind of impudence to, start such a project for God with lack of transparency. Then my second issue is with the fact that this whole enterprise is witnessed in terms of the transfers with illegalities. The monies that I speak of were not budgeted for, have not been seen in any of our budgets. It was not disclosed in Parliament during budget estimates and consideration.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, counters that. Speaking on Talking Point recently on the state broadcaster, he said it is not true that these have been made known at some point in parliamentary deliberations.
He cannot. He can say it. But the thing is about the facts. He should point to a page, an appendix, where it was stated that the state will fund the cathedral with about 200 million Ghana cedis seed money. Nowhere in the budget was it stated, not even in the priority projects. Meanwhile, the president tells us that this is the priority of priorities. It's not listed under the priority projects. Yes, mention was made of government facilitating, the construction of a cathedral in a paragraph. But that is not how budgets are done. When you are going to expend money on an activity, after mention is made of it in a paragraph, there is a breakdown in the estimates of how much is going to be spent at what times. That is what our laws, direct.
So in factual terms, what you're saying is that the finance minister is throwing dust in our eyes. Is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely. And again, this is about a conversation to construct the house of God. And the people who say they are, more pious than the Pope, even in doing this to celebrate God, do not have the presence of mind to be honest about their dealings.
Okay.
That for me is worrisome.
All right.
So these are the three things: the lack of transparency, the dishonesty with which they are going ahead with this project, and obviously the disrespect to the laws of the country in terms of how funds are managed. Then you may want to add, the fourth one about even the timing of this project. The timing of this project. Like I said, no country, not even the mighty countries with economies blooming than ours, use less than 10 years to construct their cathedrals.
Okay. So the point has been made in that regard. Let's go into Parliament and its workings. A number of issues to look at.
If you permit me a second, you see, let's be honest with the facts. Okay, to suggest that the finance minister didn't indicate that government of Ghana was going to provide funding for this project, it's not accurate. The exact amount, yes, I concede, was not stated in the budget presentation that was made to Parliament. But the finance minister was categorical that beyond the land, government was going to provide seed money for the construction of the cathedral. And this is a matter of fact. So where is the dishonesty? Where is it? Let's not do this. Look, we can disagree, and I don't have a problem with people disagree, even on the quantum of money that the government is providing for the construction of the cathedral. But let not anybody suggest that somebody was dishonest in this matter, because the budget was clear that seed money beyond the land was going to provided for the construction of the cathedral.
All right.
It's a fact.
All right.
How much?
That's why I considered that the figure, how much, I do not recall having seen the exact amount in the budget. That's a consideration.
But let me remind you, if you do not recall, let me help you remember that because no amount was even stated as seed capital, in Honorable Dominic Ayini's contribution to the budget debate, he requested the finance minister to be more detailed than just telling us that he will provide seed money for the cathedral. That is transparency. That is what our law says.
Look, I don't have a difficulty with you.
Okay, gentlemen,
not providing the actual amount that the state was going to contribute. I'm not going to argue with you on that.
Okay.
But to suggest that no mention of state funding was made, that is inaccurate. That's the point that I'm making.
All right. So I don't want too much of a trade-off. I think the positions are clear and your different takes are also crystal clear. Now, in a letter dated yesterday, the Director of Public Affairs of Parliament, Kate Addo, made us all aware of the Privileges Committee's decision to publish the summons to Member of Parliament for Domikwa Abenya, Sarah Adwoa Safo. And it makes mention of the fact that all means, official and unofficial, have been made to get her. And now publications are going to be made in the dailies and others to get her to attend to the summons of the Privileges Committee. Of course, she's not alone in there, having missed the stated 15 sittings. And this has the blessing of the Speaker of Parliament. We also have Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ejapong. And we also have Henry Quartey, Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central, and Greater Accra Regional Minister. I'll start with you, Andrew. When you look at how things have panned out, we had a discourse here, my colleague Blessed Suga, interacting with Sarah Adwoa Safo back then. She said she had not received any such summons. But now matters have come to a head. We've got to the tipping point. Should we have got here? And what proposal would you make to Sarah Adwoa Safo on the back of this latest effusion, if you like, from Parliament?
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm a member of the committee, and so I'm very much aware of what it is that transpired yesterday. You see, it's important for us to situate the issues in context. And to answer directly your question whether we should have gotten here, I don't think we should. Because, and I must add that Adwoa was my mate in law school as well. And so I know her very well. I've had a very personal relationship with her for a very long time.
Just to interject quickly, have you had the privilege of maybe speaking to her personally about some of these matters ahead of all this?
No, I have not.
Right.
I've not had a privilege of speaking to her, But you see, the Constitution is very clear, okay, as regards what it is that would amount to a member vacating his seat. And if you permit me, I'll just read for the benefit of our viewers. It says that a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament, and for purpose of this specific matter, if he is absent without permission in writing of the Speaker, and he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 15 sittings of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. So clearly, prima facie, Adwoa has been absent for more than 15 sittings. Clearly, prima facie, the Speaker has confirmed that no permission has been given to Adwoa to absent herself from 15 sittings of Parliament. And so the next step really would be for her to offer a reasonable explanation to the committee why she has absented herself of more than 15 days sitting without the permission of the Speaker. That's the work that the committee is constitutionally bound to do. Now, if you look in our standing orders, especially in Order 205, which deals with issue and service of summons, and for the benefit of those who are listening to us, if you permit me, an order to attend or to produce documents before a committee shall be notified by summons signed by the clerk of the House or of a committee, and issued by the direction of the Speaker or the chairman of the committee, as the case may be. 2, the summons shall state the time when and the place where the person summoned is required to attend and the particular documents which is required to produce. 3, the summons shall be served on the person mentioned herein by delivering to him a copy thereof or by leaving it at his usual place of abode with some other person, or where this is not known, so there's an alternate, by publishing it in the press. What the committee's deliberation established as a matter of record, that the summons that were issued for her to appear to avail herself of the opportunity to provide the committee with some reasonable explanation as to why she has absented herself, was served to her through her officially registered communication channels with Parliament. That is to say, through her email and through her phone WhatsApp contact. Of course, it's also been served subsequently on her PA and at her office and also in her pigeonhole in Parliament. Now, post the interview that she granted to Joy FM was when the extension to her PA and also was done. And of course, the Parliamentary Service used some means to get to the source of how Joy FM or JoyNews got to interview Adwoa Safo. And the committee sought to serve her through that same process. So clearly you see that from what it is that has transpired, all legitimate means of serving her has been effected by the committee, except the publication.
Right.
And indeed, the publication is not required if you are able to serve her through her last known place of abode and through some other person or through the communication channels that have already been established. But when we met yesterday, the consensus that was reached was that because this is a matter of grave consequences, if you like, it was important for us to exhaust, even though it wasn't required, the other methodology that the rules provide for service, that is by way of publication, to be effected before we can then proceed to determine.
So it is clear that you're going to use that, though it's not required. Though it's not required by law, you'll give her the benefit of the doubt, publish in the dailies
Absolutely.
as well. But what will be the consequence?
I must add that I was going to say to determine. The committee hasn't got any determinating role, save to say that she has to provide the reason that the committee may then determine whether her reason is reasonable or not. And so if she doesn't avail herself of that opportunity that the law affords her, then potentially the committee will just have to go back to Mr. Speaker and say that, well, the respondent did not appear to provide any reason to the committee. And I guess that would trigger what it is that would trigger pursuant to the constitutional provisions.
All right. So let's look at these two scenarios quickly so I can bring in Al Hassan as well. I'm assuming, must she be here physically? Or is it that in the nature of, especially in the context of COVID-19 and everything we've seen, can this be held with her via, face, tools that we use, visual tools like, Zoom and others, Skype?
Yes,
is that an avenue that can be used?
Yes, I can confirm to you that indeed yesterday the committee set up facilities to allow her appear virtually through the same, and the link to the Zoom meeting was conveyed, to my understanding, to her through the same channels that Joy FM conveyed your link for your Zoom meeting that you held was with her to her. And the meeting was set up, except that there was no respondent on the other side of the line. And so we had to, as it were, continue our deliberations without
Do you feel Sarah Adwoa Safo is deliberately ignoring this summons by the Privileges Committee? And what would be the consequences if come July the 6th, she doesn't appear, whether virtually or physically? What will be the consequences? And do you feel she is deliberately doing this?
Well, I wouldn't proffer any comment on that because
there has been no response. You have claimed over time, over a period, months, that you've been trying to reach her and there's no response. So what is the conclusion there?
I'm saying to you that because I'm a member of the committee, I do not want to make any comment that may be prejudicial, okay, as to whether she's doing this deliberately or not, as you seeking to extract from me. I'm not in a position to say. But obviously, we've seen her speak publicly through with a media house, in fact, this particular media house. And so I would hope that she would avail herself of the opportunity that the Constitution affords her, because really is a burden that is imposed on her, because only she is the one who knows what it is that informed her decision, her being absent without permission. And her explanation is what it is that she has to offer to the committee, so that the committee can make a determination whether it's reasonable or not. And so
we can talk about the reasonableness or otherwise of it, because it's a bipartisan committee, but how does your party, the MPP, feel about this entire development and looking at the impact it has had on the party? How do you feel about it?
The committee that I sit on is not a political party committee. It's a committee of parliament. And my duty as a member of the committee...
No, I'm not referring to the committee here. I'm referring to you and your membership, the majority in parliament.
My view as a member of the New Patriotic Party doesn't matter. It is the official position of the party that will be relevant for any question relating to how the party feels. And I don't think that I'm appropriately clothed with authority to speak.
So has maybe to clarify, to clarify, Andrew, I've heard a number of people from the majority side, including the majority leader, express their opinions on Sarah Adwoa-Safo. What I'm asking is that officially, so to speak, has there been any communication on Adwoa-Safo as far as the MPP is concerned, membership in Parliament?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. But like I said, I'm a member of the committee. And so I ought to wear the hat of an independent, if you like, member of the committee.
Point made, and I can understand that.
And my hope is purely as a result of the fact that, like I said, Adwoa and I were in law school together. And so I think that if you look at the tenor of the letter of the Constitution, her failure to offer that reasonable explanation would automatically amount to her losing or vacating her seat. And so I think that this is an opportunity that she shouldn't miss, and that she should take advantage of it and appear before the committee.
Okay, and Andrew, in some 30 seconds, I want you to do this final bit on this subject. The point is, you have 3 members of parliament who are going to have to come face to face with the Privileges Committee, and if some say they'll face the Privileges Committee and then come to the plenary, others say it will end at whatever decision the Privileges Committee adopts, and then the Speaker will pronounce on it. But you could lose 3 members of parliament. I mean, are you looking forward to that? How serious could that be for the NPP, especially considering the 8th parliament and the structure it has?
I'm not in a position to state whether we could lose 3 members or not. I mean, this is a procedure that the Constitution has afforded members who prima facie have breached 2 of the conditions, okay, which is to say absenting themselves for 15 days without the permission of the Speaker. The Constitution then says that when people find themselves in that situation, they should proffer their explanation to the committee. They have not proffered their explanations to the committee as far as I'm concerned. And so how anybody concludes that we could lose 3, I do not know. And so
no, the point is it will swing, it can swing this way or that. That's why I am using the conditional could. No one is saying they will. It is conditional could. And if that hypothetically were to happen, I mean, what would be the impact? But I think you want to stay away from, venturing into that terrain, so it's understandable. Let me come to Al-Hassan.
You shouldn't expect that I will stay away from venturing into that space that you are inviting me into. No.
Well, it is my duty to invite you there, and it depends on you whether I will bring you to the water. You decide whether you will drink.
Very well, very well.
All right, Al Hassan, over to you. I mean, they could lose 3 members of parliament, your opposition in parliament. That would be good news for you, the NDC, right?
Well, it depends. I think that it will also be good news for the people of Ghana, because then it will now become very difficult for them to engage in shenanigans to reduce our numbers so that they can impose some draconian policies, on the people of Ghana. But if you look at the Adwoa Safo case generally, on a lighter note, it could pass as evidence of how hard things are to have a minister of state and a member of parliament just run abroad to seek greener pastures, even though we know that she's not there for greener pastures. But it could, on a lighter note, pass as the evidence of how things are really hard in this country. Now, you know my position already on Adwoa Safo. I've said it several times on your platform. If His Excellency President Akufo-Addo does not take care, he will go down into history as one president who was never responsible for anything, never, ever acted responsibly, in any matter. I mean, he picks substandard ministers of state, and he is not responsible for, that choice. Parliament is accused for approving the substandard ministers that he chooses. He introduces draconian and nebulous taxes, and he is not held responsible for introducing those taxes. Parliament is accused for allowing the tax to be approved. I mean, he promised to fight corruption and even threatened that people in his government who dare come in to make money will be dealt with. And corruption is all over the place. And state institutions mandated to fight corruption are blamed for that. And he is not held responsible for it at all. I mean, heck, his minister goes AWOL, Minister of State goes AWOL, and he's unable to as much as even just dismiss her. And Parliament is worrying itself to take that responsibility, for him and on behalf of the people of Ghana. Isn't that just a shame? And so I'm saying that, for me, the first thing that should happen is that the leader of the executive arm of government must act responsibly. In this case, he must dismiss Sarah Adwoa Safo as Minister of State. Then Parliament will also now deal with her absence in Parliament. I think that we have pampered our president for far too long. It is time that he is held responsible for at least one thing, at least for the appointee that he put in charge of the Ministry of Women and affairs.
Just to say, some of your own membership have said that we ought to tread cautiously, because you never know when you'll be caught in the same net, and that you as members of parliament, if you proceed with these three, you could be shooting yourselves in the foot. But is this a glorious opportunity for parliament to bring itself above the board and show that for once you can deal with your own and that the law must bite? What is your take?
My take is simple. I mean, yes, Parliament must take every opportunity, especially in this current Parliament, to build itself up, to improve upon how it does things. We may never get this opportunity again. And that is why sometimes I get deeply worried when we still allow the executive to, have its way in a parliament that is so equal. I mean, the worst that can happen after this may be a government in power having less numbers in parliament. But this opportunity where we are equal, the two parties are equal, may not come again. And it is so glorious that we should take advantage to use these numbers to build Parliament in such a way that it can, withstand other things that we may not have imagined in future. That is what many countries, around the world have done, and it has served them well. I think
if these three MPs are punished,
having said that, Ben,
right.
Having said that, I do not think that, like I said the last time I was on your show, we should answer the wrong questions. I think that the questions must be right, so that we can provide right answers to those questions.
And what are the right questions?
That will then serve as, a reference point moving forward. Because in my view, the two members of Parliament should be treated just the way the law says they should be treated. The laws and outstanding of others. I believe that members of the committee will not be partisan. They will keep an open mind, listen to the two members of Parliament, and come to a conclusion that is based on their conscience, that their reasons are either convincing or not, and make a recommendation that is forward-looking, that the plenary can consider. But in the case of Adwoa Safo, it's a wrong question for Parliament to answer, in my view. I am of the view, clearly, that we need to get our president to, for once, act responsibly. What has Adwoa Safo got on the president that we don't know?
And since we do not know, we cannot insinuate either. So right, we don't know either, so we cannot. We cannot insinuate. Al-Hassan Suini, when she spoke to Blessed Soga, I remember she categorically stated that.
Is it not discomforting? Is it not discomforting that a minister of state, a cabinet minister for that matter, leaves this country, and everything shows that she cannot be contacted by anybody, because otherwise even Parliament would have been able to reach her. The committee would have been able to reach her. She has said, and yet the president cannot issue a letter to say he has dismissed this minister of state.
To wrap up this end of the conversation, she has stated that yes, she, as a minister, she would want to come back and assume her position again, that she is the substantive minister, though we know Cecilia Abnadapa is acting in her stead, and that the only person who can dismiss her is the president, and that he is aware of her circumstances. So since you are not aware of her circumstances, I would suggest that we move on from there.
You can't move on. Look, you can't move on.
Why can't we move on? What is there to say?
Look, the reference to
why you know what she has on the
let me hear Andrew.
The reference to Cecilia Abnadapa that the host just made, without further informing the public that indeed that notice that came indicated that Adwoa Safo's leave has been extended. It's mischievous.
My goodness.
So you want me to make every point? Okay. So Andrew. Fair point. Fair point you've made. Andrew,
she is actually on leave, and you know as a matter of fact.
Okay, so I didn't think that would be a problem, because that is a fact that everybody knows. But
Madam Cecilia Abnadapa is acting without further informing the public that Adwoa Safo, per the letter that was issued by Eugene Ayin on 6 October 2021, that her leave has been extended for personal reasons. You should know that.
Okay, so you want me to go into all that detail? Fine. You put the details out there. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Ben, but you see...
No, it's fine. It's fine. We don't need to belabor the point. I mean...
No, we do.
Things will fall in their proper places. I don't think we need to belabor the point on this one.
Just one point on this. Right. How do you justify a minister on leave in perpetuity for personal reasons when that minister comes on TV and tells us that she's taking care of her children? God, Ben, how many ministers of state have family issues that they are dealing with, even personal issues that they are dealing with, but still make time to serve the state because they are responsible to the state. If their condition gets to a point where they can no longer be available
at the time that you were making your initial allegation,
president, why
at the time you were making your initial allegation, you knew that there was an opportunity for you to shift the goalpost.
Why will the president still keep such a minister at post? Why?
All right, so gentlemen.
I mean,
thank you. If we continue on this tangent, we'll never end
your family needs
this section of the conversation.
Your aged mother.
The truth of the matter is that I do not know the circumstances that.
Gentlemen, do I have to mute your microphone?
Is there a good reason enough that you should justify?
I don't have a problem.
Put your credibility on the line. If you know what Adwoa Safo has on the president, let us know.
You see, I won't even glorify this statement with a response because obviously
you are responding though.
Out there. No, of course, I won't. But see, the fact is this, okay? The fact is this. Adwoa Safo duly applied for and was granted leave. Fact. Adwoa Safo subsequently applied for an extension of a leave, which was granted by His Excellency the President. Fact. And so you can make all
leave in perpetuity. Even when she was asked when she would return,
you see, we can. I have a difficulty with a long absence, but the truth then also is that I do not know the circumstances that she finds herself in today.
So there's nobody in the MPP today that the president can appoint to take that responsibility.
Okay, gentlemen.
Somebody is acting in her stead, no?
Acting.
But
while she has a responsibility towards her substantive ministry. So among MPP members, there's nobody that can take up that role.
You see,
while she attends to her emergency.
There are several people who can take up that role.
I thought you said you had the men and women.
Of course, we have plenty of men and women that you
and one woman is holding all of you, including the president, to ransom.
Nobody is holding anybody to ransom. You can make your own conjectures, no issues. But I'm saying that the situation that she finds herself in, I don't know. But if it is such that she ought to be permitted room for her to deal with those issues, that is exactly what.
All right. Let's put a full stop. Let's put a full stop to.
Should that be at the expense of the state?
Let's put a full stop to the conversation
because she needs to attend to her personal needs.
Al-Hassan and Andrew, thank you very much. For a moment, I thought maybe one of you wanted to take over and host the show, but I still have to do this. As we wrap the conversation, two quick matters I'll bring up, and this is so. For both of you, I'll give you 2 minutes maximum. If you exhaust the 2 minutes, I mean, don't blame me on this one. The 2 minutes I'm giving you to reflect on the Kumasi Islamic Senior High and the incident which has now led to 3 police officers being interdicted, so to speak, and our Parliament asking for, an explanation on the back of this development. I'll start with you, Al-Hassan, 2 minutes each. Your quick take on that, and we'll be wrapping the conversation.
I think the use of brute force by the police has become very, very worrisome in recent times. And there is need for all of us to be concerned. And that is why, I am very happy that Speaker Bagbin yesterday directed that the Committee of Interior looks into the matter seriously. Because if you listen to the stories from the secondary school, it just beats your imagination how anybody trained to provide internal security will be that callous and reckless, especially towards unarmed, teenagers. Because many of these girls, they are teenagers. I mean, I understand they simply gathered in front of on the road and demonstrating their unhappiness about speeding vehicles that, cause accidents at the entrance. And even when the police arrived, according to the reports, they dispersed, they ran, and they chased them, some into the washroom. I mean, what kind of training did these people in uniform get to engage in such barbaric behavior? Right. So I think that we must, ensure that the committee does a thorough job, looking at recruitment, looking at training, and using this case as, if you like, a galvanizing case to look at all the other brutalities that policemen have meted out to people, unfortunately, across the country. It is becoming one too many, and the IGP must set up.
All right. For you, Andrew, quick take.
Well, to a large extent, I agree with the sentiments that have been shared by my colleague, Al-Hassan Suhaili. I mean, I know that students can sometimes be overzealous, and act in a manner that is untoward. But the high-handedness, I mean, secondary school students, mostly girls, being, as it were, pepper sprayed by the police. It's unfortunate, and I think that we should not mince words in condemning the police for their high-handedness. Albeit, suggestion is being put out there that they were responding primarily to some pelting of stones.
I mean, but you look at equivalence, even in the law, in respect of the police. People are throwing stones and you are firing, live bullets, albeit in the air.
Well, it's not established that live bullets were fired,
Well, they got the shells. I mean, they got the shells on the ground. And I agree with you. Maybe the committee must go into it.
I mean, let the committee go into it and then furnish us with whatever it is that they find. It will be useful. I guess that the IGP step that he's taking also ought to be commended. I think that we should go beyond that and establish the fact, let us know the punitive measures that he's taking. And of course, as has been suggested by Al-Hassan, and I share those sentiments, reorient the police to handle these crowd control measures in a much more civil and less confrontational manner than we've seen in the recent past.
Andrew, let me just sneak in this bit. You will have the final word on the show in a minute or two if you can manage it. Fuel prices are going up again. We hear that as of this weekend, maybe Friday, Saturday, we'll see another increment. Some say this is stifling. And the GPRTU has responded. I think it was Ibor Abbas that I heard speaking on the matter. And he is saying that the GPRTU, for the GPRTU, an increase in fares is inevitable. It is bound to happen. It will happen. That is what they are saying. But if you consider that, another increment and another jump in transport fares, I mean, you are Deputy Minister of Energy. How does that reflect on you?
Well, of course. I mean, so long as we practice the policy of focused recovery that was introduced in 2015, where the state decided that, look, continuous subsidy of petroleum products, which then led to huge sums of money accumulating as debt, was going to be discontinued, and that we're going to put in place this bi-weekly pricing window to ensure that whatever cost that is incurred, primarily by the BIDEX who import these products and sell to the ultimate consumer, would be determined on that basis. And so long as the prices of petroleum products continue to rise on the back mainly of the Ukraine-Russian war, unfortunately, we would continue to see the prices at the pump rising. I know that some engagements were held 2-3 months ago where government then reviewed by reducing some of the margins that were on petroleum products. Of course, calls were made at a time for some taxes to be reviewed. The finance ministry came out to indicate that, well, reviewing those taxes downwards, as the calls were suggested, would have huge impact on the revenues of the state, and that those reductions in themselves would not impact positively the pockets of the consumers, but the impact on the state coffers was huge. And so that conversation could not be entertained at the time. But I know that the window is not closed. Government keeps monitoring the space, and as and when it becomes necessary to introduce some measures that will provide some relief, that will be done indeed. But for the intervention that the Ministry of Energy engaged the Bank of Ghana, which then agreed to provide some FX market for the buy-decks who then purchase these products. I'm sure that the prices would have been higher than we've seen on the pumps at the pumps today. Indeed, if you look across the world, except in countries such as Nigeria and other places where the state subsidizes petroleum products by a large margin, which then has led to shortages that you see in those countries, because, of course, the subsidies come at a huge cost to the state, and they may not readily have the resources to purchase the products as and when the consumers need them. Okay, across the world, wherever that fuel prices are consumed, you see the prices at the pumps rising astronomically.
It depends on the level of rising. I mean, I always go back to the Sierra Leonean example. They don't produce oil in the quantities that we would think of. They in fact don't. But they found a way of managing the situation. When you look at West African neighbors, you would realize that we are very close to the highest price, if not the highest, and that some people say is a great cause for worry. So you may talk about the fact that there are increments across the board, but the question is by how much, especially as an oil-producing country. If you look at the percentage of increments in 2022 alone, I mean, on the basis of previous figures, you would realize that we're paying what, 5 point something, 6, and now people are paying over 10 cedis, now edging towards 11, not to talk of diesel. I don't know whether what you're saying, covers all of that.
Well, I agree. And of course, if you compare 2011, 2012, 2021, 2022 figures, you will see a marked difference in those variables. And so the question really is, taxes haven't increased, okay? No additional taxes have been introduced within the period that you make reference to. But the prices have kept moving upwards. And clearly that is a function of, one, the price of the commodity, and two, the Forex differential. And I'm saying that the Forex differential has, to a large extent, been brought under some control by the introduction of the Forex market for IDEX who import the product. Okay, so some government action has been taken in that regard. We may argue that that may not be sufficient, having regard to the fact that the price keeps increasing. And so question then is, what is the next item to touch? Because the commodity price you cannot touch. The exchange rate for that segment of the market has been brought under some control. And so the next item that potentially may be subject to change is the taxation component, okay? And I'm saying that that taxation component, even if you take off some handles, and at the time the suggestion was for the special petroleum tax and a few others to be reviewed. If even you reduce those ones, okay, the impact at the pump is not significant, but the impact on the exchequer, which is the general volumes of revenue that comes to the state to meet the budget estimates that have been approved by Parliament, is impacted significantly. And so then that would have consequences on the ability of government to meet the expenditure needs of the people as well, the goods and services, the development that we all are asking for, the wages and salaries of public service, public sector workers and all that. And so I'm saying that there has to be a balance.
But the wages and salaries have not changed. I mean, these commodities you speak of have not.
I agree. No doubt at all. I mean, I'm saying that that balancing act has to be had. That conversation has to be had. And I said at the very outset that as far as I'm concerned, the window is not closed. The Ministry of Finance should be open to a conversation that then makes a determination as to whether some taxes ought to be touched, because the forex and the commodity essentially have been dealt with, or there's no elasticity there, if you like. Okay. And what will be the consequences on the revenue? And Ghanaians then ought to, as a matter of consequence, then be in the know that those reductions in the revenue will have consequences that we all ought to be prepared.
Let me give the last few minutes as we hit the hour of 9 to Al Hassan. Al Hassan, you can share your thoughts on this as well as we wrap. Do we have Al Hassan Suini? Hello? All right. So we've lost Al Hassan Suini, Member of Parliament, Tamale North.
The God of the National Cathedral didn't want him to come and play his usual mischief with petroleum pricing, and so it's taking him off. But
the God of the National Cathedral didn't want.
But it's important. It's important, if you give me the last word, that yes, we would have views that are shared by our opponents. But like I keep saying, it was for a good reason that the Mahama administration decided to introduce the policy that it did. And so whatever conversations that we're having on the subject matter of petroleum prices should be situated in the context of the reality of what petroleum pricing is and the extent with which government can actually influence the prices. The only significant way is either to reduce the taxes or to provide some subsidy. And the question is, are we as a country in a position to make those inputs to ensure that prices are brought within the barrier that we may all consider reasonable?
Questions for all of us to ponder. Very grateful for your time, Andrew Ejapam-Mercer, Member of Parliament for Second D. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so coming up next on the AM show, of course, it's a Wednesday, and courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, we bring you AM Business. Today, Charles Aite is exploring the most expensive areas in Accra and how the Rent Control Department is dealing with brewing concerns in the country's housing market. AM Business up next.
Tenants in Ghana are far worse off than they were some 5 years ago. With a national inflation rate of over 26% and a worsening cost of living crisis, the housing market has become unbearably expensive for low to middle income earners. I have come to Osu, a cosmopolitan residential area in the Korle-Klottey constituency of Accra, a place notorious for unbearable rent charges and high cost of living.
A 6 inches block for 3 cedis 80 pesos. Now 1 6 inches block is around 6 cedi, and the cement is 380, and now cement is around 62.
Ni Edumwa Amabo is a resident landlord who's been renting apartments for 20 years now. What changed? I asked.
Well, what accounts for that, I could say, is the cost of building materials and maintenance, basically. That's it.
Because others are having the arguments that the houses are there, the apartments are there, they don't, experience any kind of modalities, changes to the structure, and yet we see landlords increase rent.
Yeah, well, it changes from place to place. Others don't upgrade, others do upgrade. There are certain old buildings whereby a tenant would love to have a tiled room, so you upgrade your room, and obviously when you upgrade a room, it has to reflect in your pricing. So it depends on the landlords or the landladies.
What will it take for rents to come down, for the cost of renting apartments to come down in this part of Accra?
I really can't tell, because the deficit is a lot in terms of demand for rents for rooms in Osu. we have a lot more people coming into Sue, especially the expats, and they are also helping in shooting the price up because some people take advantage. They have the ability to pay. So most of the houses where people are paying more are being occupied by foreigners.
In the span of 10 years, the cost of rent has increased over 300%. Renters blame the hike on the cost of building materials, which remain uncertain due to the changing rates of the US dollar and the falling value of the Ghanaian cedi. Figures from real estate website Bicasa shows that a regular 2-bedroom apartment, which went for 500 cedis in 2010, now goes for between 1,500 to 2,000 cedis.
I don't think there is any landlord anywhere who is not going to increase rent.
By what margin?
Well, we'll see. We'll take the inflation price into consideration because a year ago we were buying cement around 380 and now cement is well over 60 cedis. So definitely we are going to take all those things into account when we are increasing our rent.
So basically we should be expecting an increase by 26%?
Well, it might be less, it might be more. All is due to bargaining. The environment informs the pricing, and maybe also the way the house is being kept. Basically, it's the environment. So also is dynamic. There are places that people are even paying 700 cedis for a single room, and there are places people are paying 2,500 for a 2-bedroom, and as little as 800 cedis. So it depends on the environment and what features there are in the room.
At the center of protecting the rights of beleaguered tenants is Ghana's Rent Control Department.
We realize that a lot of landlords are bringing tenants who cannot pay their rent. It's justified because of the economic situation. A lot of tenants have lost their jobs, so they are not being able to pay their rent. So we see a lot of such cases before us.
Emmanuel Pasu heads the department's public relations unit. Woefully underutilized, dedicated staff here defy logistical challenges to meet the needs and concerns of tenants in Ghana.
Currently, logistically, we are down zero. Let me put it zero.
When you say zero, what do you mean?
What we mean by zero is now we cannot communicate with our officers at other districts. Okay, that's where the digitalization comes in. You can move to some offices, there's no computer for them to, it's purely paperwork. Talking about vehicles that we are expecting to use to do inspections, because we don't expect only landlords and tenants to report to us before we take action. We are expected to move to the district homes and then to inspect and to make sure that landlords and tenants are adhering to the laws. Okay, but lack of vehicles is also impeding our work.
As Ghana's housing market evolves, Parliament is considering a new rent bill which will see heavy regulation of the pricing regime in the housing industry. Emmanuel says this will be a game changer as it will weed out unscrupulous landlords ripping tenants off and taking advantage of Ghana's unregulated housing market.
The bill that is before Parliament, together with the regulation that will attach to it, we are considering using the CPI specifically, so that as the CPI moves up, we will come in and then use it too. But in that case too, there will be a cap that even if we are using the CPI, we don't exceed that cap. So we are considering that there are a lot of stakeholders' engagement for the passing of the bill. When all of us admit or agree that this is the direction we are going, we will move to that direction.
So at this point in time, is it justified for landlords to increase rent?
Yes, you know, just as I mentioned, the value of the land, the materials they used, because if the materials are going up and a landlord wants to renovate the premises or won't even want to paint the room, he's not going to use 10 years ago's paint or 10 years iron rod to do the renovation. He's going to use current price of the material. So if a landlord has done a renovation or has done an improvement, and based on that, there should be a way to increase the rent so that it can recoup the money he has invested in the building. So there is justification. But in all those cases, landlord has no right to sit in this corner and then just be increasing price as he wants. He needs to come to the rent control department, file for the application for the assessment. We move in, look at what you've done, because the improvement you've done should be beneficial to the person living in there. So when we come in and we see that the improvement you've done warrants an increase in rent, together with the tenant, you, the landlord, and the rent control department, we come up with a realistic rent for all of us to abide by.
The country's housing deficit has widened from 1.7 million units in 2020 to 2.5 million this year. And as the capital city of Accra breeds a vibrant middle class, some spots in the capital are becoming a cash cow for realtors. East Legon, Lakeside Estates, Osu, Laboni, Spintex, Dansuman and Tema are currently the most expensive residential areas to rent a decent apartment today, Mikasa has shown.
So the current act we are using, the Rent Act 1963 and the Rent Control Law 1986, there are certain sections in there that needs to be amended. We are looking at the current business models in Ghana. There are a lot of real estate agents who are doing business that have not been captured by this old bill. So they all have been factored into the bill that is before Parliament now, so that we can be able to regulate all those aspects of the economy. So just as you said, you are right, but we are looking at fast-tracking the passing of the bill so that we can capture all those businesses under the rental housing business, so that we can have a harmonization of those aspects as well.
Ghana's housing industry is close to $1 billion.
Wow.
Does rent control have the capacity to manage demand regarding concerns and negotiations of both partners, renters and their landlords?
Okay. Yeah, we are capable. Just as currently, we are operating within 14 regions with 58 offices. That does not mean we don't cover the entire country, because you can see one office serving 2 or 3 adjacent districts. That notwithstanding, the department is going to be digitalized, okay? So this digitalization, you can be in your home and then we interrupt. You don't necessarily need to come to our office. So the capacity will be there. After the digitalization, after the passing of the bill, we will get there. And currently with our number and with our offices, we are being able to manage the situation. So when this expansion comes into effect, we'll get there.
The Ghana Statistical Service has pegged the cost of housing as a major factor determining inflation in Ghana. As global development disrupts supply chain and dips Ghana's currency strength, the scramble for affordable housing will continue to elude the government and Ghana's growing low to middle income brackets. I'm Charles Aite reporting for Joy Business.
Welcome back. Now, on the back of AM Business, as we talk about the rising cost of accommodation, especially in Accra, there's more we'll be bringing your way as we get interactive with you. What we have here...
Drum roll! Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Why have you been hiding this morning?
I've not been hiding.
You've abandoned me. You've been
you know,
AWOL.
I've been in the back supporting you. That was an interesting conversation you had with...
You've been AWOL.
No, I haven't.
Just as
You know I haven't.
he was making reference to Sarah Johnson.
I know, I haven't. But it was a good conversation you had there. But talking about housing, you know, you saw recently that tweet by Michael Blackson about the cost of furniture, and he was asking why Accra is so expensive. This is not the first time.
It's like everything, furniture, logistics, like twice as much as he would pay in the US.
In the
and
US,
he's asking, yo, what's up?
Yeah, and this is not the first time. He made a similar statement some time back about accommodation. But here is one of the things that causes major drain on people's pockets and frustration. So, Benjamin, I don't know. We've been having conversations with Rent Control and talking about this and how we can resolve it, but we are yet to see anything really happening in terms of practical things. I know people, for example, who say, oh, in my country, you pay monthly. And it's easy on the pocket for a lot of people. So imagine a young person who just landed a job, who has to pay a year or a year and a half or 2 years advance rent. How are they going to afford it? Like, just think about it. They either have to rely on a relative, or their parents are well-to-do, or something. You get it?
And you look at some locations. Even sometimes, I recently had to help someone who was trying to get accommodation. You look at the accommodation in Laboni, the space. I mean, it's so small.
Did you say Laboni? Prime area?
No. Hold up. The entire space is not even the size of my hall. and how much the person is paying. That small space. You know, when you look at areas like Laboni, Osu, now Chado, you look at the likes of Jowola, Belingpe, even Achimota, even Tesano. It's becoming, don't talk about airport and Roman Ridge. And it's even worse in some of those communities now springing up. Once the facility is new and all that. I mean, I look at some of the prices and some of them, we keep talking about, oh, we don't charge in dollars. Some of them are charging in dollars.
Not some of them, most of them are charging. In these prime areas you're talking about, yes. In the prime areas you're talking about. So it's just something we need to look at. Shelter is a basic need. Okay, talk of affordable housing, and I even cringe at the thought of that, because where has that gotten us? And there are people sleeping on the streets. Where is the focus on human dignity? Where is the heart, you know, towards people? Because I'm saying, just think about it. A regular student, you know, landing a new job, having to pay a year or a year's advance. And you know how the landlords behave. If you don't want it, you can go, because there's ready markets for it. Yeah, someone else will pick it up. So, I mean, it's just something we need to look at. But we'll be coming back shortly to take your thoughts on that. How is it affecting you? What has your experience been looking out for a facility? And also, we'll be talking about some of the things that Benjamin discussed with Andrew Japamesa and Al-Hassan Sikini. But now, there is another major concern with the major route, the Accra-Tema Motorway. And some of you have had to be to endure.
They've been stranded.
Literally. Endure long hours in traffic due to some emergency work that needs to be done there. Our colleague Kojo Brace visited the Tema Motorway, and here's what he was able to gather.
On the Tema Motorway, where I'm standing is the side you would choose if you're coming from Tema. So, I mean, the traffic is very thick at the Tema end of the highway towards Accra. When you're coming from Accra, we spent close to 40 minutes in traffic from Accra to this place. Now, the bridge they're constructing is just some few meters after the Nutrifood factory. So if you are used to the Tema Motorway, when you're coming from Accra, after the Nutrifood, you would see a certain bridge. That's the bridge that is facing some structural integrity challenges, and that needs fixing. Now, the people in this traffic tell me they've spent 2 hours in this traffic. It's quite a huge one. You have the motorcycles also coming in. The complaint I'm having is that, look, we are dying. We've been in this for close to 2 hours. Let me try to engage some people to see how it goes.
I've been in traffic for about an hour plus. You know, I'm also I'm a public servant. I'm going to work. I have a meeting somewhere to attend. And I've been in this traffic for an hour, more than an hour now. Yes, and it's very bad and very irritating. It's not, this thing is not going to be like something for a few days. What we are seeing currently, if you look at it, it's going to take years. You know, when you have things that are not being planned well in the country, these are some of the things that you see. Look at what is happening. It starts all the way from the toll booth. You'll be in traffic from all the way from the toll booth to this side. And we're still moving, not even to get to a shaman overhead or anything. We are still in this traffic. We're going to waste almost about 2 hours, 3 hours in this traffic. So they should do something about this. Okay. All right, thank you.
Chief, so, I mean, what's your experience of the traffic?
I've been using this road for a long time, but I've never experienced this before. I don't know what is happening ahead of us.
How long have you spent in traffic today?
Almost 1 hour. Just here, yes, almost an hour.
Are you on your way to work or for a business meeting?
For a meeting, yes.
Are you late because of the traffic?
Very, very late. I'm already late, yes. So
You didn't know of this ahead of time?
I didn't know. I had to use my Google map.
Okay.
That gave me the estimated time about 25 minutes before I get to where I'm going.
Okay.
And I have to be there before 11, and now it's 11:20. So you can imagine.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For the traffic.
Yeah, I'm Reverend George Enchubediako. The traffic is too much. The government should do something for us. In fact, there is a lot happening in this country. And we know the government is doing very well, but it should please try and fix the road for us.
How long have you been in traffic?
Oh, for about an hour. Yesterday, I was in traffic for 5 hours.
Whoa.
Yes, yesterday. I was in the traffic for 5 solid hours.
And today you are 1 hour. So
1 hour. Yeah, today there is an improvement. So today we are a little bit happy, but the government should work very hard. We are also trying to pray to support him.
Thank you.
Okay.
It is inconveniencing Ghanaians. And I think, it's a good thing they are doing. But they should do it in the night. Because the traffic here is too much. It's too much. Since 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. at dawn, there is traffic as at this time. It's inconveniencing Ghanaians. So we beg our leaders, they should do this thing at night. So that we can have peace of mind. You are, consuming more time, more fuel here. It's not the best. It's not the best at all. Thank you very much.
So share your experience with us.
Oh, the traffic is very bad. We've been here like for almost 3 hours. Why?
For 3 hours?
Yeah. It's very bad. It's very bad. At least they have to do it. This is why they have to work like day and night, Because in America, they work day and night. Only in Ghana, only in Africa. It's very bad. They have to do something about it. Seriously. Yeah. Okay, bro.
All right, so this is the junction where those coming in from Tema towards Accra and those coming from Accra towards Tema intersect. It's just a few meters away from the Nutrifood company. The bridge which is being worked on is on the river Alakla, that's what I've been told. And let's correct this. The highways is not working on a number of bridges. They're only working on one bridge. And even that, according to the highway engineer who's supervising this work, they are working on the Accra bound side of the bridge. It's not the entire bridge. And they expect to cast this in the next 72 hours and open it to traffic. So they are looking somewhere around the weekend or next week Monday to open this bridge to traffic. That's what it is. So if you are seeing where I am, those coming in from the Tema end would join those coming in from Accra for them to use the single the Accra, the Tema bound lane, and then you join here before you can move on around the Nutrifood area. So that's how it is. But we have had the opportunity of going through other routes. So if you're watching and you want to save yourself from joining this whole traffic, if you're in Tema, you can drive through Ashaiman and then bypass the Ashaiman underpass and go beyond or go past the axle load and join the motorway. By that, you can save yourself about 40 plus minutes of the traffic if you have to join directly from the highway. So that's one thing that we've gathered here from our search. I mean, we've driven through those routes to understand how it works. Now, we are seeing, and I can count about 60 policemen on the highway. I have ridden at the back of a motorbike to go throughout the stretch, and I've seen a huge presence of policemen here. I've tried to find out from them why that, and they tell me if they were not here, traffic could not have been that easy. Yesterday, mind you, people were spending close to 5 hours in traffic, but today it's been reduced to between 1 hour 30 minutes for people who are traveling from Tema to Accra. For those who are coming from Accra, you might spend like 40 minutes to 1 hour in traffic. It's because the police are using their visibility to ensure that traffic flows. That is what it is here. So if you just join us, the traffic is still on. If you are going to use the motorway, be mindful that you will still be in traffic. Again, we've spoken to the site supervisor who tells us that they are doing everything they can to ensure the motorway is opened to traffic in the shortest possible time. Thank you very much. You started this work yesterday, yes. Where are we now?
Yeah, we are on the form. We are now fixing the formwork. Yesterday we were able to do a 24-hour braking, and we've been able to finish, and we are now doing the formwork. And we are praying that by tomorrow, 6 o'clock a.m., we should be done with the formwork. Then the setting of the rail enforcement bars will begin. So if everything goes on well, in the next 48 hours, you should be prepared for the concrete.
What exactly are you doing?
Yeah, there was a defective. The decks or the bridge here have a lot of defect on the decks, and when we confirm it when we break the concrete, realize that most of the iron rods were rotten or were seriously corroded. So at the end of the day, what we have done is we are now going to change all the iron rods. We are going to change the iron rods, and the work was also in two phases. We were having the propping. If you look under, we have supported the bridge under with metals. It's called the stanchions, which is called the propping. That one was done in 7 days. Then the main work, which is also ongoing, that is what. Now that we have done the propping, now we can contain any load that comes. So in this case, we have even increased the strength of the bridge.
We heard of bridges, but since I came, I've seen just this one. Are you working on all the bridges, or just this one?
No, it's just, you see, Motorway is having 3 bridges, and out of the 3, it's only this one. Even here, it is on the Accra bond that is having problem. So what we are working on now is the Lakwakwa bridge, which have a serious defect. So it's only one bridge. It's not the 3 bridges.
Okay. So this one, with my knowledge of concrete, when you do it, you have to heal, and it takes a number of days. So how many days exactly are we looking at opening this to traffic?
Yeah, after the casting, we have some adhesives that we will add to this concrete that is going to speed it up to be able to achieve the compressive strength of the concrete. So, and the numbers, like everybody knows that it's 21 days, 21 days, 21 days. But we will do it in 72 hours. In 3 days' time, we'll be able to open the bridge with the inclusion of the adhesives.
So hopefully by weekend or next Monday, it should be opened.
That is our hope, that with a good weather, we will open the bridge.
This is a highway work. Do we know how much it's costing the nation?
Yeah, you see, this is not a new project that we are doing. It's maintenance work. As every day, the moment you touch a place before you know how worse it is. So if I'm to give you, let's say it is 2,000 or 3,000 cities, I'll be lying. At the end of the day, we will find out the engineer was lying. So we will be able to finish when everything is completed. Because today a lot of things have come out, and it was not part of the budget. But now we have to. So emergency work or rehabilitation work, it's normally different. How we see it until you touch it before you realize that how serious it is. So the whole world will know the amount we are using when we finished.
But the motorway itself needs a lot of work to be done on it. Why aren't we touching it?
You see, maintenance is a process. Maintenance is a process. We've been doing it. That's the main reason why it's out of the checks that we did, I realized that this one is having a serious defect. So we've been doing it. Just that when the lifespan of it, you have everything have a lifespan. When it reaches its lifespan, you have no option, but you continue to maintain. So we can finish this bridge, and in the next day, another one will show up. So we are praying that the minister promise of, I guess, we are going to have a source cutting for the reconstruction of the motorway. So that's what we are praying, that we will do that, so that at the end of the day, everybody can go and sleep.
But once we wait for it, the potholes that are developing on portions of the motorway are quite dangerous, and potholes that can cause a lot of death if care is not taken. Yeah. Why aren't we filling them to make them quite motorable? Because this is a motorway, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, currently, as I said, it's about 60 years. It's about 60 years. So the moment the lifespan reaches or elapses, this development will come. Now we cannot close the bridge at one side and do the parking at the same time. Then it means that the whole place will come to a halt. So what we are doing is, let's tackle the most serious one first. Our mobile maintenance units are on standby for the potholes. So that one will be done immediately after we have finished this one.
So there will be pothole filling after this one?
Pothole patching, yeah, after this one.
And that's an assurance?
That's my colleague Kojo Brace there from the motorway. And for those of you who are affected, I hope the alternative routes help you out. But we are told that this emergency work needs to be done to forestall a disaster. And we'll be bringing you more on this in the coming days. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some progress or information on the work being done. But now it's time to hear you. What do you have to say about the issues we've been discussing this morning? Please have your say. Do you want to comment on the Privileges Committee inviting Adjoa Safo by placing an advertisement of the sort in the dailies? Why is it difficult to reach her, even though she's a member of the governing MPP? And also, we've been talking about rent in the country, focusing on the rent control departments dealing with the rising price in rent. And also, if you don't mind, you can also share with us what you think about fuel. On Thursday, fuel prices will go up again, and we've been told by the GPRTU that an increase in transport fares is inevitable. Tell us how you're managing. While I wait for you to call the numbers on your screen, Awake is premium purified water and is treated through strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect size for every occasion: 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We've also introduced a special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. Now you just need to stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Come on, grab a bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casapreco. For bulk purchases, please call 026-235-1251, 026-235-1251. And talking about numbers, you can also call us 0302-211-691, extension 2. We've gotten a phone call coming through. Wisdom from Mepe. Hello, Wisdom. Let's hear you.
Good morning, my sister. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Thank God. I wanted to comment on the fuel prices.
Please go ahead.
I was listening to the MPP communicator today, the MP for the Start. I don't know.
Andrew Ejapamesa?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes. He was talking about something that they couldn't do anything about the price because taxes or the petroleum business cannot be reduced, they cannot be taken off and this thing. I wanted to ask, we are also extracting fuel from this country. And at the same way the prices are going up somewhere, we are selling our income to becoming big. If we were estimated to have 10 cities this year, now it's go like 20 cities. Why can't they use that money, the excess one that has come on, to support us? Since we are also extracting some from our country, so that at least the burden will be eased a little bit. We are dying. We are dying. You cannot even use your car again. You cannot use anything. And the lights are going off and on. You need to buy fuel for your generator, and the costs are high. The moment sometimes you get up late in the evening and realize that your generator has gone off. Why? Because the petrol is short. And as I said, we are dying. Seriously.
Thank you for your suggestion, Wisdom. There, I believe the people in charge are listening. and we will get a response on the concerns that you've raised. Wisdom is concerned about the cost of fuel, and he's been offering some suggestions. We don't know what the government has considered those suggestions and what is being done. But let me know what you also think. Have your say on 0302-211-691 extension 2. There's a lot to discuss this morning, and would love to hear what you have to say about all the issues that we've been discussing. And I'm sure you may have heard about the update from the Islamic SHS school. We are told that everything has returned to normalcy, but there are concerns about the conduct of the police during that incident, and we know that 3 officers have been interdicted. Now, we also know that a police officer has been arrested for carrying substances suspected to be Indian hemp. How does this help the police in its bid to rid the perception of their members being involved in notorious crimes and other activities? Let me know what you think. Adam is joining us from Wa. Hello, Adam. Do I have Adam on? Okay, let's pick Felicia from Ho. Hello, Felicia.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you. Yes, let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I also think government can do a bit by helping increase the salary of workers.
Okay.
To also help in sustaining us in buying petrol for our cars and even rent as such. So I think government can do all this by helping the salary workers, to also help outside people who are also in the market and those that are doing church and other things. That's my say. If government can do more on helping the salary workers or even other people, it's better. Putting jobs in our way also.
Thank you very much.
Too much. Really, it's very, very, very too much.
I appreciate you.
Can also do something.
All right, Felicia, thank you for joining the program. Let's head to Nima now. Kabems joins us. Hello, good morning. Let's hear you, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Please go ahead.
Yes, since I wanted to comment on the policeman arrested yesterday about the narcotics.
Please go ahead.
You see, I can see that the IGP is working now. This our new IGP is working. I think last 2 weeks or so, I learned that the police people have arrested a NADMO officer for using unauthorized route. But the NADMO officer came shouting. The policeman who arrested the NADMO officer, he has done the good thing. The reason is that you can't use a driver who don't have a driving license to be driving that car. I commended the
all right.
officer.
Okay, Kabems, thank you very much. And we also know that issue involving the officer who was carrying substances suspected to be Indian hemp has another angle to it. His colleague officers who arrested him have been promoted. So let's head to Dansoman now. Hello, Robert.
Yes, my name is Robert.
Good morning, Robert. Let's hear you, please.
You see, these issues of police and securities involving in this kind of issues, you know, it all has to do with the way the officers are recruited. That is very key. The way the procedures in which the officers are being recruited into this service, it's very, very serious. Because you have a lot of people that are into the profession. Some are already criminals, but as to when and how they got, because maybe they have people within, big people within there, they push them into the service. You get my point?
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you know, there's a saying that no matter however you dress a madman in the dress of a king, you will still see the symptoms of madness in the person. Regardless of how or who the person is, once the person was involved in those kind of things, or if in that gang before he actually moved into the service, there will be a day that the person will still want to move even within his, forgetting that he's an officer in the sector, is still trying to go in there. So I think that going forward, the way the people are being recruited into the service, there has to be a second look at it. Because if not, each and every time we'll have all these things coming up from, we cannot curtail them until, of course, we are able to minimize and then do proper screening.
All right, Robert. Thank you very much. We have W01 from W01 King from Ashoman Estates. Let me find out if you're actually a military person or this is just a nickname.
Yes, military.
Okay, great to have you here, sir. Let's hear you.
Yes, do you know what happened? This morning, Ajakwa and Tamale, I think Tamale, not for Central MP. They were debating on...
yes, you're talking about Hassan Suhini and Ijapamesa.
Yes, they were debating about fuel prices, and then he said, Ajakwa said, he bought a fuel here for so amount, and he went to US. US is higher. After my military, I went to US, and my pay was $22 an hour as a nurse. $22 an hour. And the $22 an hour now, if you calculate it, you cannot compare America with Ghana. My patient pay hasn't even reached 2,000 in Ghana. And I've done 30 years before I went to America. So if they were doing comparison, they shouldn't think some of us, we are amused or we don't understand what they were saying. If they want to tell us something and look at our face and tell us something, they should tell us the truth. You see, we are suffering. Ghana is suffering. Ghana is suffering. I'm telling you. You just take 20 cities that they should go and buy bread and milk and then egg to come and make your breakfast and see how much you spend. And 11 to 12 o'clock, you should have to eat. 6 o'clock, you have to eat. If you don't have a house, you should have to pay rent. Luckily, I'm having a house. So I'm feeling pity for my colleagues. So if they want to tell us the truth, they should tell us the truth.
Right. Thank you very much, W01 King from Ashoman Estates. It's raining now. I'll be showing you something shortly. My producer and director will put it up shortly on the weather warning we've received from the Ghana Meteorological Agency. It's important that we alert you on some of these things because you know how it works in this country when it rains. But DeGraft Johnson is calling us from Kokomlemle. Hello, DeGraft.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. Let's hear you.
The viewers and the listeners. My more concern is about...
Hello, DeGraft. Sorry, DeGraft. I'm struggling to hear you. Can you please speak up?
I said my main concern is about the Motorway issue.
Please go ahead. Hello, DeGraft. Please go ahead. Too bad we lost DeGraft there, but we're just taking your comments on some of the issues that we've been discussing so far. So for us here in Accra, it's raining, but we expect the rains to hit other parts of the southern sector today. So in Kumasi and the eastern region, other parts, Sunyane, all the way up there. But the northern sector is spared today. So if you live in any of these areas, just after the northern regions down to the south, please just prepare yourself because we're told that it will be raining today. They're quite heavy and they've been highlighted as a stage where you should be prepared for anything. Okay, so we have another caller. Joseph is joining us from Keta. Hello, Joseph. Let's hear you.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, Joseph.
Yeah. Concerning the police officer that was carrying the head.
Hello. Good morning, Joseph.
if I can enlighten on that, I would say they have a superior, you know. Some of those police officers can't go on like that. They have superior backing them.
No, sorry, Joseph, sorry. We can't conjecture at this point. All that we know is that this officer failed to stop at a checkpoint, and he was chased, and he was involved in an accident. As to who sent him, as to who he was working for, we aren't sure. So I just think that we should leave it with the facts until the investigations are able to establish or give us more information. Thank you very much, Joseph, calling us from Keta on the police incident. That police officer, sergeant, who was arrested for carrying substances suspected to be Indian hemp. We've got a call from Kumasi. Is it raining in Kumasi? Hello, thank you for joining. Hello? Do I have... all right, it appears we're having a challenge with our lines this morning. But I'd like to know if you live within the southern sector, wherever you are, just let us know if it's raining and what the situation is there. And also share your thoughts with us on the issues that we've been discussing this morning. We've been talking about the Parliament's Privileges Committee hauling Adjoa Safo. All right. We have a caller from Boko. Hello, Adams.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you, please.
Yeah, I wanted to, this morning, I was listening to our two MPs, because they are our representatives in Parliament.
Okay.
And then, in fact, hello?
I'm listening to you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, because I was listening to our two MPs, Jafar and then Soine.
Yes, please.
You see, this problem, this country that we are suffering today, is as a result of our MPs. Because why am I saying this? Because they are our representatives in Parliament. They have to go to Parliament and talk on our behalf. And yet, we're 30 years democracy, and yet we are still suffering. Because, in fact, they are in Parliament. We have never heard them talking about their constituency. When you go there, it's still yesterday's problem. It's still yesterday's problem. In fact, when they come to their constituency, they talk different. When they go back to Accra, that is another thing. We have never seen them because they know our problem that we are confronted with. You come to constituency, people have completed school. They are sitting idle. You see our bridges are collapsed. People are not even, they can't even meet their 3 square men. Why are they living? Some of them went to school to go to classes and teach, but they go to politics. Why are they deserting classes and they are going to politics? That is the easier way to make money. And when they grab the money instead of going to their constituency to see the people how they are suffering, they don't do that. And yet 30 years and we are still suffering. And there's not any changes. And we have resources. We have gold, we have oil. All this and God bless us. And yet we are complaining the same yesterday's story. Who is coming to elevate the poverty that we are going through? So in fact, this morning when I was listening to them, I was just laughing. Both of them are the same. So thank you very much.
Thank you to Adams for calling us. That was Adams from Boku, sharing his thoughts on what Mr. Andrew Japames and Al-Hassan Suhini shared earlier on the show with my colleague Benjamin Akakbo. So for those of you who are in areas that you haven't started experiencing the rain, let me just bring you what we received from the Ghana Meteorological Agency this morning. And if we could just put up that, yes, okay. So this is an impact-based weather warning for Ghana. And the summary is a moderate to heavy rainstorm observed over the Eastern Gulf is expected to propagate to the west to produce rain, thunder and windy conditions over areas in southern Ghana. Like I mentioned, here in Accra, we're already experiencing the rains. But as you can see on the map there, the areas expected to be affected include the Eastern region, the Volta region, the Bono regions, the Ashanti region. And so you can realize, or you would see that it's orange, it's coded orange, and that is be prepared. So please stay alert, and don't become a casualty of the floods. So these are areas to be affected based on the information they've received. The Volta and Greater Accra regions around 8 o'clock to 12 noon. Eastern Ashanti Bono regions from about, is it 10 o'clock? I'm not really seeing that well, but between that time and 12 noon. And the Western region between 12 and 2. So we'll pick our last caller even as we wrap up the show. Hello, thank you for joining us. Let's hear you, sir.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Mine take will be on the inflation and the high cost of living that we have in the nation.
Please go ahead.
The issue is I have a problem with the government. Nowadays, when you talk about it, they would want to sort of shift the blame. They'll tell you, oh, the thing is all over the world and everybody's suffering. And especially they even mention the U.S. Yes, we know it is all over the world. But when you mention U.S., they are taking measures to solve those problems. The other time I heard Biden saying that they'll be going to Saudi Arabia to meet the president in order to sort of lift some of their crude oil into U.S. You see, so that it will solve their problems. The same Biden said they will be going to build silos so that they can stock some of the grains in order to export them out of Ukraine. You see, they are taking concrete measures. You know, these are steps that they are taking. What are we seeing in our country? No. All the time they are shifting blames, and they are doing, for instance, if this money that they were using to sort of move to the construction of the whatever, the cathedral, if they have used in something else, maybe looking for some alternative measures in getting some crude oil or something. Just please. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Okay. No. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Clearly, a frustrated voice there. He's not the only person. We've received quite a number of calls with people expressing frustration. Hopefully, the leaders are listening, and we will put them on their toes and hope they take the decisions that will inure to our benefit. But Ghana has developed double taxation treaties with countries such as the United Kingdom, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, among others, for the relief from double taxation on income arising in Ghana. Taxpayers benefit from tax credit facilities under the double taxation treaty. And today we've been talking about housing. So how about renting to own a 2, 3 or 4 bedroom house or beachfront villa in the new Accra city? Cities and habitats rent to own at a price you can afford and at a pace you can pay. Visit www.newaccra.city for more details, or call or WhatsApp 0555 530 300, 0577 911101, or 0557 054 635. The planned Cities Extension Project, shaping Ghana's urban future. And as Benjamin will say, we hope we have shaped your morning. And that'll be it for this edition of the AM show with me, Bernice, and Benjamin Akako. Do stay safe. Remember to plan if you really need to step out. And if you live in areas that will be affected by the rain, just prepare so you're not caught unaware. Do stay. Up next is News Desk. And later at 12, we'll bring you the midday news. Once again, thanks for your company.